All right, folks, it's showtime. Welcome to another edition of Watch Talk with Tan, Saturday afternoon edition for the European time zone. I think it's around 5:30 in the UK, 6:30 on the mainland of Europe. Probably going to let a few folks trickle in because I didn't really schedule this too far in advance, and I wanted to make sure that I got everybody on before I started getting into the watch talk. But we do have some early folks here. We got Jen in the chat. Jen, I've dropped the link in WhatsApp. I'll actually drop it again here in the chat if you want to join. I'll let a couple people trickle in. Not really, no big topics, but yeah, on sneeze and toes, tan equals royal clock. Unlike Archie, who unfortunately has an Explorer 2 and does not know how to use his GMT function because he calls me at weird hours of the night and gets mad that I'm not answering the phone. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not going to answer the phone at 4 a.m. So, I think it's not very hard to do the math, but if you do have a GMT function in your watch, whether it's an Explorer 2 or GMT Master 2, whatever, you should be able to use it. And you'd figure Archie would probably set his GMT to at least New York time, or what we call Eastern time zone here in North America. But yeah, it's really funny that he'll call. I think he's called me at 4 a.m. He's called me at like 2 p.m. He's called me at weird hours. And it's like, can you not just call me at a normal time, either when someone's off work or, when they're not sleeping. So, yeah. Forbidden Colossus. I don't know how your name got messed up to Forbidden Colossus. I think a lot of these panelists and streamers just don't know how to read, I guess. But Forbidden Colossus in the chat. You must have a long fuse. Yeah, seriously. Today we're just going to go through, obviously, some watch talk. If some panelists obviously want to join, they can. If not, I'll just ramble on for a little bit. Wasn't really planned. Thought I'd kill some time, do some watch talk. Wasn't really doing anything this afternoon, so thought I'd sync up with everybody, see how everyone's doing. Archie did a morning show today. I think it was mostly just Lux Report kind of walking around Thailand and Archie reminiscing about his time in Thailand. So, if you guys haven't checked out the morning show, which is the evening show for the Australian folks, morning show for us North Americans, and probably a late morning to early afternoon show for European folks. It would definitely be one to check out. Hey, Saad, if you want to hop on, dropping a link for you. I love those baguettes they give to somewhat boring Patek Philippe. Yeah, Saad and I really do like our gaudy watches. I put up the sapphires today. I think I had the rubies on last time when he was watching. We definitely want to put up something with a bit of flair on the screen. We got Fella, who I know was in the middle of watching my show, rerun of my show yesterday. And I just popped on live today. I knew that he'd probably stop watching the reruns and we'd go through some of the live stuff. Thank you so much, Saad. Hello, hands, knees, and toes. Hey guys, you know what? I think we actually did the impossible yesterday, and we got Archie to change his intro, which has really been, I don't know, since I came back, it's just been, I don't know why he does that intro, and it's not been a very popular intro. So, I think we've gotten him to finally agree to change the intro because that softcore porn intro that he had just wasn't working out. So we do have 15 people here in the chat. So I will run the classic OG intro, which I do on my show, which hopefully Archie's going to continue to do on his show. Let's roll the credits. Like I told Archie, I said that intro really gets everyone pumped up, and it's the long version of the intro because on his videos, I think you'll get like a shorter version of it. So, if you definitely want to see that intro throughout the show, super chat in. I will definitely play the intro as many times as you guys like. But that is the OG intro. Jimmy says, not to plug other channels, but Watchbox dropped a great talk about Patek. Yeah, look, we're very friendly with Watchbox. I know Brian Govberg. I bought my 5035 from Brian Govberg. I'll even play you the clip from back in the day. I think this was around the time I bought my 5035, but we'll play this for you, Jimmy, for our friends at Watchbox.
Alongside the Swiss. So Clive Watch Wrangler Brian, didn't you promise Tanzio Ansari that Tim would autograph a poster to his biggest fan? I actually did promise that you would autograph a poster for ArchieLuxury and we would send it to him.
If you have a poster of me, that's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, so no.
Is that a thing?
So, it's going to be a thing because we're going to have a poster made of you, and you're going to need to autograph it to ArchieLuxury because I promised that we would send one out.
I can do, but do we ship internationally?
Well, we will. We will.
That's the first international gift we've ever given away. Congrats, Archie.
There you go. I don't think that poster ever arrived, but Tommaso was definitely taken aback when Clive had messaged that in, and Brian, who I had just purchased the 5035 from, and I said, hey, Brian, and I talked to him on the phone. I said, hey, Brian, do you think you could get us an autograph poster for Archie? And he says, yeah, sure, I could definitely do that. So, we love the guys at Watchbox, good people. Fella, good day. Hope you're well. Forbidden Colossus says, Tan, Clivers used to say Archie would call him at any hour and say he needs to go on. For a while, he never said no. I think he used the Mark fella to get out. I never knew any of the details. Look, back in the day, the live streams weren't, we weren't going on as frequently. It would be a treat if we did it, 2 or 3 times a week. It was often Friday night live with Clive, Saturday night live with Clive they would do. And the odd time I would probably reach out to Archie sometimes and just say, hey, I'm bored on a Wednesday. Can you hop on? And I think that's actually what Jin did yesterday was I think he reached out to Archie because you see yesterday, earlier in the day, not towards the end, but if you see probably yesterday or the day before, there's a few shows that went on that Archie went on. I think he did like 3 shows. And Jin actually, I think, had reached out to Archie, and Archie had said, yeah, no, I'm down to do a show. And Archie just hopped on. So, yeah, it definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if Archie called Clivers at weird hours of the day. I know that Clivers, after a while, just got burnt out and probably wasn't feeling the love that I think some of the panelists get today. So, hey, I got no beef with Clivers. If Clivers is listening and wants to jump on, I'll definitely talk watches with Clivers. Jimmy, thumbs up from Hans, Knees, and Toes. Nice to see you guys here in Tan does a show. John Galt says, upvote, please and thank you. The lifestyles of the rich and famous with Robin Leach is so old. Some of the punters may not know it existed. It's funny because when I used to watch ArchieLuxury and I'd watch them, on my TV in my living room or whatever, my cousin would sometimes come over and would be like, hey, who's this discount Robin Leach, in reference to Archie for the lifestyles of the rich and famous. So I did know the show. I didn't actually watch it. Might have been just a little bit before my time, but it was funny when he used to say that. Jimmy says, awesome intro. Yeah, we're trying to get Archie to use this intro because I do think that this intro is really it's the one to actually start the show and even end the show. My buddy Fella says, any idea when these 5271s will be out? Not sure, man. I'm not sure. If I haven't really, obviously, I'm not really exploring this piece directly, so I don't really have any info on whether it's available at the AD or whatnot. But there's this one, there's a ruby one, and I believe there's a diamond one. I'll try to pull up. Yeah, I think I got a diamond one here. Let me see if I can pull up the diamond one for you guys. So here's it looks like it's diamonds, chronograph, perpetual calendar. So unlike the regular 5270, which is perpetual calendar chrono, without these gem sets, you can kind of get it in a couple of different flavors. I'm showing the diamond one here. You can get a sapphire one. If I go back into the collection of Grand Complications, you can see a ruby one as well. This is the one that Saad and I have talked about in the past on the rubies. So I don't know which one's your guys' favorite. I don't know. I'm a little hard pressed between the rubies and the sapphires. I think the red dial is pretty stunning, but I'm obviously not really a guy who wears gem set watches. But hey, if this is your cup of tea, go for it. Hans Eason So says intimately. That blue lapis is the first jewel encrusted watch I liked. Very pulled together that Patek is. We got Swinging Kangaroo. Now that's limited one of one. Drop the link for everybody if anybody wants to join. JB for you. I'm doing this for the European crew. I know JB's in Europe. We've got ABC in Europe. We've got Professor who's in Europe, and a bunch of other folks that are in Europe. That are good supporters of the channel. Often stay up late to watch Archie in the night. And I kind of talked to Archie and I said, hey, like when I have some time, I think this is a great time slot for people because if you're in North America, it's afternoon. It's just my time is just past 12:30 here on the East Coast. But and even in the West Coast, it's probably just they're just waking up. Whereas in Europe, in the UK, for example, you're rounding up close to 6 and 7 on the mainland. So people are probably having dinner. They'll probably get their drink and whatnot. But for you guys, definitely wanted to hop on and talk some watches. I'll drop the link again if anybody wants to join. I have a couple of topics to start off with. But let's just keep rounding it through the chat. Tan, what's your, I think this is state of the collection. So I have a couple of pieces in my state of the collection. I have a Datejust 2, Blue Romans. I have a Submariner Hulk. I have a Speedmaster 1861. I have a tuner, Black Bay 58, blue. I have a Patek Philippe 5196 G white gold. That's the one Archie keeps talking about, and I could show that a little later. I have the Cermet, I have the Pepsi, I have, and most probably recent acquisition after the tuner Black Bay 58 is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15500. So that's kind of where my my collection is at. I have obviously some moon swatches. I have the Mission to Mars and I have the Mission to Moon, but yeah, I'm not super Patek heavy like I used to be in my collection. I have a lot more usable stuff. And, obviously some hype stuff. I'm trying to keep a bit of a balance, guys, like between hype stuff, high horology stuff. I have my Patek and my AP for high horology. I have Pepsi, Cermet, Hulk, and stuff like that for, some of the hype stuff. And then, just the regular usable stuff, the Tuna Black Bay and the Speedmaster 3861 Heslide. So that's the state of the collection, Hans, Knees, and Toes. Also Archie's original video where him dressed immaculately, a punter playing Lord. I missed that, Archie. Yes. He's been wearing the woven t-shirts. Obviously that's a sponsor, I'm assuming. So he's going a little down, dressing a little down for us. But Forbin, you'll probably remember the days when Jin and I would be on the streams and Archie would Hulk, he'd Hulk apart his Herman So's shirts for a fee. I don't know if he'll do that today. He seems a little bit more tame in his old age. But yeah, this was the days when Archie used to live stream wearing a bucket of KFC for a hat and just Hulk apart his dress shirts for a fee. So maybe we'll see that, Archie. Who knows? Saad says the royal purple tone of lapis are the most expensive. Saad, if you want to show this to us, if you do have some time to hop on, please do. I'm not obviously pressuring, but I'd love to see that myself. What do you wear to rock that red watch? Yeah, it's a good question, man. I don't even know. Like, you can't. I'm not really seeing you dressing this down. It's definitely going to be something a little bit more dressy. But hey, you never know. You probably got that one guy who will just dress this down, t-shirt and jeans. Pair of Jordan 1s in the Chicago colorway, which is the white and red. So you never know. Just trying to catch up on the chat. Alex Carlson, what is your job roughly, Tan? I am in management. I'm not going to get too specific into what I do, but I do work in tech. I'm in management. I also work for free on the ArchieLuxury live stream for you guys. So that is my job to answer your question, Alex. All right, let's keep going. Punchy collection. Hans, Knees, and Toes, I think that the collection just has doesn't have a bit of vision, like I used to. I used to do like icon collection where I'd have the Speedmaster and I'd have the Reverso and I'd have a bunch of stuff. We got the Rodent 3.0. Rodent, how you doing?
How did you know it wasn't the Rodent impersonator?
I have to check because we've had some issues with the porn bombers. So I can actually check who's authenticated, under what name that's authenticated on YouTube. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's how I knew it was the Rodent 3.0 and it wasn't a porn bomber. So just talking about my collection, Jin, you were around when I had a bit of a different collection. I had the Patek 5035, I had the 5127, I had multiple Rolexes at the time. You guys saw a bunch of them on the screen yesterday on the Archie show, but today I'm like kind of all over the map. I got a Cermet, I got a Hulk, a Speedmaster, Pepsi, and then I got the AP, and I got the 5196. Like it's not bad, but I don't think there's a ton of direction. So I'll probably do some consolidation and do some direction. But what about you, man? What's up with your collection? What are you thinking of collecting, adding? What's new in the wide world of the Rodin 3.0?
I don't think I never liked the word collection. I never liked the word collector. And but I agree with you that I think collection kind of implies a theme and direction, which I definitely do not have, but maybe is something that I also don't really care about, because I don't consider myself a collector. So I'm just like, I'll just buy things that I wear, and as you said on a previous stream, quite correctly, it's just jewelry essentially. So I just wear stuff, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you've added some recent stuff, right? You added the Rolex Oyster Perpetual. You obviously have an Explorer already. You have a Universal Genève. You have. Do you still have the Mark 40?
No, that clasp. I love that watch. It was great, but it looks great. It was super fun to wear. The size it's like a 39, but a 39 and a half, but it's a very small 39 and a half, which honestly I wasn't sure whether I liked that or not. But the clasp, did I show you? Like, the clasp was an absolute piece of garbage.
I never actually saw I never actually saw this watch when you got it. I remember the time when this came out, because like Hodinkee was like, it was all over Hodinkee, and it became all the craze. And I think you had just bought it prior to that, like prior to the boom, and then you just really got into it really early.
Well, I bought it on the day that it was released on Hodinkee, so I'm not gonna take any credit for buying it pre-hype, but I was thinking about it. And once Hodinkee will drop that article, I knew, okay, if I want to buy it, it better be now. So I went to, but the prices had already gone up on the American site. So I went to the Japanese sites while they were still sleeping and bought one from Japan.
Yes, it was from Japan. I remember. We got a super chat here from JB, our friend in Europe, great support of the channel, €11.99. 10, I really appreciate what you do. Thank you, JB. We are here to entertain, talk some watches. Jin, this may be where we take the conversation. Forbidden Colossus says, I love when Jin speaks about Piaget. Not to be confused with Audemars Piaget that Archie used to call AP. I remember a great clip a few years ago where Jin staunchly defended Piaget's horological history and elegance. Very enjoyable. Love to see a passionate argument. Maybe, well, let's go through Piaget. I think people brought this up yesterday. We're talking a bunch of watches, and we didn't. And I think a lot of people wanted to talk about Piaget, which, for those that don't know, Piaget also makes jewelry, similar to Cartier. But let's go into Piaget's watches, their collection. Jin, you direct me on which collection you want to look at. And, the Altiplano is a good one. The Polo, obviously, everybody knows.
The Altiplano is probably the best one. Although, if I don't remember that clip, so I was probably drunk, which also explains why I was
constantly defended the history.
When I'm drunk, I get into historical monologues. So maybe that explains a lot of my the problems in my life. But
now let's pull up a basic one here. So this is a basic 38 millimeter white gold. And this is the important part that I think everyone needs to understand about Piaget. Ultra thin movement. Piaget is known. I think they have I don't know if they still have the record. They had the record for the thinnest movement back in the day. Let's see.
They do sometimes trade back and forth because someone will come in and challenge them. But they had that Altiplano Ultimate watch, which had part of basically the case that they used the case back as as essentially part of the movement, so that they could really save vertical space.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have this kind of skeletonized front, which I would say normally looks kind of tacky, like a poor man's tourbillon. But the way that they do it, that it's done in the interest of saving space, which is or height, which is cool.
Well, I mean, it looks a little, the presence on the wrist isn't bad. You're talking about a movement that's 2.1 millimeters thick, guys. This is their specialty, is really putting dress watches together with ultra thin movements. We do have some super chats here that may just sidetrack us, but we'll pull these up first because people are paying. Alex Carlson from the UK, £4 49 pence. Patek 5271 Sapphire. So I do probably have the Sapphire. Let me pull the Sapphire up here for you guys. 5271 Sapphire, which is this one, Jin, or the FP Journe Tourbillon Souverain. So this is a Sapphire, perpetual calendar chronograph, Sapphire set. And then I'll pull up the Tourbillon Chronomètre Souverain Tourbillon, which is here. Probably a couple of different finishes. You can get it in it looks like you can get it on a bracelet in platinum. You can get it on a strap in platinum. You can get it in rose gold on a strap, or you can get it rose gold on a bracelet. Jen, what do you think? We've got a little battle here. 5271 Sapphire or Tourbillon Souverain?
I mean, the Journe is just something else. I mean, I can't say I'm hugely in love with tourbillons. I don't find it a very romantic complication, but it's just stunning. It's a fucking FP Journe. I have to go with this one.
So this one, just to read a bit of the description here. So obviously I described the metal, which is 18 karat rose gold, movement bridges with clou de Paris, guilloche, engraved and hand painted inscriptions, grand feu enamel hour dial at the 3 o'clock on white gold. Like, obviously the finishing is going to be top notch on this. I'm going to go with the FP Journe just purely for the fact that I'm not really into gem set watches. If you were probably comparing the Tourbillon to a standard 5270 perpetual chronograph, I would probably take a perpetual chronograph over a tourbillon, because I agree with Jen. The complication is kind of just meh. I don't really care for tourbillons. But, when it comes to these two specifically, Alex, we're going with the FP Journe Tourbillon Souverain. All right. So back to Piaget. So Altiplano Origin watch. Let's kind of look at a few more Altiplanos. We got some complications here as well. I showed kind of the most basic Altiplano. If we go into, there's some moon phase. Again, they're also a jewelry manufacturer. So, they're describing their pieces as high jewelry watches.
Well, I think certainly the gem set ones are definitely high jewelry.
Mm-hmm. But if we look at the other ones here, like we've got something that's a bit more probably for the watch collector. We got some automatic pieces.
Yeah.
The design is pretty classic from the shape, obviously, of the case. You got everything from like basically jewelry to, let's look at this concept watch.
Yeah, this one is I think 2 mils thick in total, which is that's like a penny. Which is, I mean, if you think about it from that perspective, it's just like, wow.
It won the GPHG Aiguille d'Or in 2020. And yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, where like Jesus Christ, look at this.
It's as thin as the strap. It's just an extension of the strap almost.
And here's my question to you is I think both of you and I can appreciate thin movements and thin watches. Professor, how you doing?
Hello.
We're talking thin watches today, Professor. I just downed a burger, so I don't feel too thin, but we're talking thin watches. We got Piaget up on the screen. This is the Piaget concept watch, released in 2020, won the Aiguille d'Or at the GPHG. 2 millimeters thick. That's what I was showing, just on the thickness of the watch here. For me, and this is kind of the question, we can all, I think, appreciate thin watches, but do you guys actually like wearing thin watches? Or do you prefer a bit of heft when it comes to your watch? Do you want to feel that the watch is actually there? What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think I've ever worn a watch even close to 2 mils because this is just like an extreme. So I don't know, but maybe I feel that for this, it's almost like, you know, when you look at the kind of really MB&F watches, or like the ones that are almost like more marketed as machines on the wrist rather than a regular watch. I feel that this is kind of like that, but to another extreme, an extreme of thinness.
Professor, what do you think? Do you like thin watches? Very thick. This is 2 millimeters thin. Like, this is.
Yeah, they can keep it.
They can what?
They can keep it.
They can keep it. You know, for me, the 5196 is a very thin watch for me, and part of when people ask me, "Can you wear that watch every day?" Part of it is like when I've worn that watch, I felt that if you bang that up on something, the metal's obviously gold, so it's soft. It'll ding, and I've seen it on other people where it's dinged pretty easily, comparative to, you know. And Professor, I don't know if you know the story, but Jin dropped my Patek Philippe Calatrava 5127 from not a very big height, but onto a rubber table at Richard Mille, and not really any problems, no dings, no issues. Like, it was robust enough. But I think on my thin watch, it would definitely pose a problem. So I can appreciate thin watches. Darkholm says thin watches are design wankery. This was what they used to fight over. They used to fight over, you know, who could make the thinnest watch, and, you know, and the whole small watch thing was a thing for a reason, right? It was to show the capability of the house. Whereas today, you know, everybody's seeking large, what Archie calls dinner plate spectacles. So, Professor, we were asked specifically because, you know, on the main shows, we talked a lot about Rolex and Patek Philippe and stuff like that. But there were some folks in the chat that, you know, Jin, who used to live stream with me, who's known as Rodin 3.0, he used to discuss Piaget a lot. So, you know, we wanted to kind of go through some Piaget pieces. I got a request here from Forbin Colossus, ultra thin chronograph altiplano. For sure, man. Altiplano chronograph. Let's pull this up. Let's go to images here. Ultra thin. I don't know if this is an ultra thin. I've got some chronographs, but I don't know, Jen, if this is very ultra thin. Could be. This is a Piaget chronograph. I actually like the style of this watch. I don't know if you guys dislike this, or, you know, just, I think Professor may just be Piaget can just keep their watches, and they can focus on jewelry. But what do you guys think from an aesthetic perspective? Do you guys like this piece?
This one, not so much. I think the subdials are too close together, and it looks a bit cross-eyed, which I always am. That's always kind of repellent for me, a rodent repellent. I think they do make altiplano chronographs that are better balanced in terms of dial, but not this one.
What about you, Professor? Thoughts? Like it, dislike it, love it, hate it? Tell them to keep it.
They can keep that too.
They can keep that too. Okay.
Yeah, they can keep that too, and it's best if they stop producing watches. And those who buy them, just sell them.
I'm going to pull up the Polo here, guys, maybe a little bit more mainstream, because this may go into the next topic I'm going to talk about on another integrated bracelet watch. But folks are obviously familiar with the Piaget Polo. I don't know if this is picking up in Canada, 14,100. That may be US dollars.
I think this is the ladies one, the 36 mil.
One. Yeah,
there's a men's one which is 42 mil, but it wears a lot smaller. It wears more like a 40. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this is a 42 mil.
And it's actually not an integrated bracelet technically, even if it has that look. I don't know if this style of watch would really wear very well on a aftermarket strap, but it's nice. I mean, I think the thing is with these jewelry brands like Piaget, Cartier, Chopard, they have all of this experience in design and kind of metalworking, and I think that it shows in their watches.
So Forbin Glasses says, note that a solid gold Piaget Altiplano ultra thin chronograph goes for 18,000 USD unworn. And look, you know, Forbin, this is when we talk about opportunity costs, right? Like where it's really what you're seeking. There are some folks that can appreciate the ultra thin movement, that can appreciate kind of what Piaget is doing. There's other folks that are just like, hey man, this is not for me. I'm not into the brand. You know, I'm not into jewelry brands that, you know, kind of crossed over into watches, even though they have watch history. Piaget definitely does. You know, Piaget, I think here with the Polo, which is the watch everybody kind of talks about with Piaget, you know, is really trying to look at that sports phase. You know, Jin says obviously not an integrated bracelet, if you see here, but looking for that integrated bracelet look. Probably a competitor to the Laureato. Competitor trying to, and look, it's not a price point competitor to an AP Royal Oak. It's not a price point competitor to a Vacheron overseas. But you know, I think in a Laureato type of sense, it could be. Looks pretty straightforward in this piece. You know, 42 mil steel case, dial luminescent hour markers, sapphire case back, manufacturer movement. You know, to me, look, I don't really have an affinity or a love for Piaget. I can respect what they're doing on the ultra thin part. I think that's, you know, it's still very important that, you know, the manufacturers do still try to show their technical skill, and I can appreciate that Piaget is doing that. Really, as Professor, where this came up was that Jin years ago, apparently on a live stream, was staunchly defending Piaget's history and their prowess for technical innovation, and so people wanted to bring up a bit of the past, but. I'll move it along from Piaget here, guys.
Yeah, no doubt. Just very quickly, salam also to General Saad. But very quickly, Piaget, of course, you know, it's a 150-year-old company, no doubt, and it does a lot of innovation, no doubt. But you know, it's not for me. We're all entitled to our tastes and opinions. Piaget, yes, it's you know, it's one of those brands that have been producing quite a few innovations, and it's in between a jeweler and watchmaker. They made a lot of innovations in flat movements, in tourbillon, in you know, the thinner type of watch. No doubt. And I'm sure people will continue to buy them. It's a nice watch, but when I say they should keep it, it's obviously not for me.
Sticking on the topic of integrated bracelets, even though Jin is saying the Polo is not an integrated bracelet, Jin, I think you'll know some of this. Professor, I don't know how much experience you have with 15,000 series Royal Oaks. Question from Christopher Negroni. Besides the 15202, which is a modern iteration, or there's a 16202 now, so it is the previous gen iteration of the Royal Oak Jumbo. Which modern Royal Oak in the 15,000 series has the best design? So, Jen, I'm going to probably, you know, you can kind of go into the mid-size if you want, in the 15450. We can go 15300, 15400, 15500, 15510. I can show some of these, but I don't know, Jen, if you have a favorite, or even a 15550, which is the new modern mid-size of the 15450 that you like, and I'll kind of give my take.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think 15450, 15550, you know, I think the mid-size works because it just wears huge, right? All Royal Oaks wear huge. So there's no need to really blow up the watch, in my opinion. I mean, there's a reason why the Jumbo is called the Jumbo, after all. So, yeah.
So this is a 15450. We'll look at the dial. You know, so 15450 is a 37 millimeter because the 14790 was a 36 millimeter. They upped it 1 millimeter. It's funny, Professor Archie made a comment that the 15450, which is the one that Jen is talking about, that he said thinks is his favorite. Archie is like, I'll never own this watch because it was listed in the women's section of AP's catalog, which I find funny. So this is the dial. This is the dial layout of the 15450. I'm just going to show you the 15550, Jen. A good supporter of the channel, Bud the Stud, I believe, owns this one. So in the 15550, they've removed, and just similar to they did it on the 15500, they've removed the AP applied logo, and you now have this this type of logo where it's Audemars Piguet. It's raised using a technique of gold that they've put in. You know, it's polarizing in the sense that, you know, some folks, including myself, really feel that that AP applied logo is very important. It is a historic logo to, you know, this kind of a piece. So, you know, from my perspective, if I'm looking at the mid-size Chris Negroni, I'll probably be going with the 15450, even though I love this style. I think this dial is stunning for the 550. In terms of the watches, specifically of the 155, if I'm looking at the larger sizes, you know, or the men's section, which Archie would say, I've owned a 15300 white dial. I was very close to buying a 15400. The only reason I didn't like the 15400 was they kept the same movement in the 15400, which was upsized from 39 millimeter to 41 millimeter. So if you see the case back of a 15400, you'll kind of see, like, you know, comparative here. This is a kind of a comparison between the 500s case back, which seems, you know, it seems like the movement, you know, which they've updated, both in the 15500 and the 15510, which is AP 4302 movement. This older movement, which I think is the 3120, if I'm not mistaken, it just looks small in the 15400. If you look at the 15300, a little bit better, you know, here in the 15300. So if I were to go with a pick, honestly, I'm going to go with the watch that I have. I've owned the 15300. I do love the 15500. It has the updated movement, you know, probably in ruthenium. I don't have the ruthenium. I have the silver dial, but I do like the ruthenium dial. Here's kind of a comparison between the jumbo and the 15500. For me, that AP applied logo is very important. The newer, you know, the case is 41 millimeters, similar to the 15400. The movement is updated with a 70-hour power reserve. You know, I really like the larger size, or where's like a 43, but that's my take. 15500 out of them all, just because I want that AP applied logo compared to the 15510 or 500. Professor, I don't know if you have an opinion on these Royal Oaks. If you don't care, if you tell AP to keep those watches, you tell us.
Yes, they should keep those watches as well, and they should shut down also AP.
Okay, yeah. Professor's indifferent.
One trick pony.
One trick pony. One trick pony watch company. I mean, they're trying to get past that. I think it's very hard to do that, right? Like when we talked about this on AP was, you know, just the history of the Royal Oak and how it came about and how, you know, it was done in such a short period of time. They weren't overthinking it. Where we do feel that in the Code 1159, it's quite possible that they just overthought that watch and really missed the mark and really missed what, you know, the market wanted. This will follow up from Christopher Negroni. I like how the current model has hour markers that fill the dial more. Thank you. I'm on the hunt. Yeah, Christopher Negroni. It's those little subtle details. Most folks won't be able to tell the difference between a 15500 and a 15510. You got the outside minute track as well that's different. It's the same movement in the 500 and the 510, to be totally honest with you. The prices on the secondary market are basically the same. If you go to David SW and you see a 15500 that's unworn and a 15510 that's unworn, it's like $1,000 difference. So, you know, hey, whatever you like, if you want to spend that extra grand, if you're already spending 44 grand, anyways, a grand's not a big thing to you. But yeah, I like the 15500. Not a huge fan of the 510. I did like the 300 in the past. Saad says, Tan, one day we should do Royal Oak, AP Royal Oak variety. There are a huge variety back in the, we could spend an entire show talking about Royal Oaks.
At least, yeah.
Frank the Tank says 15300 is a perfect size 10. Yeah, it's a 39 millimeter, wears like a 41. It has the automatic script on the dial. Beautiful, beautiful piece. They still trade for quite high prices too. I bought mine, Professor. I bought my 15300 in 2014 for 14,000.
You were an early comer.
Yeah, 14,000 Canadian dollars. Wow. And I owned both that and the Nautilus at the same time. And I kept thinking in my mind, this is just a better constructed watch than the Nautilus is from a case and bracelet perspective. So, Well,
it's a thicker watch. Let me ask you, when you repaired it for your whatever 5-year, 3-year, 6-year warranty. How much did you pay for it?
I actually sold it before I had to do this. Yeah, I sold it.
How much?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a friend who keeps on taking his APs and he pays like 5,000 francs, Swiss francs each time. He says it's a ripoff. I tell him it's okay. You're a very wealthy guy. Don't worry. But wealthy people tend to be stingy. So
of course they are.
Yeah. You don't know how much you repaired one.
No, I haven't.
Service.
No, I haven't sent one in for service. I haven't sent one in for repair. My watch actually has a 5-year warranty right now, so I don't think I'll be able to give you that answer for 5 years even. But I do know that Archie did a video on his. So his was the, Jin, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the 14790 he had, the mid-size that he sent in for service. And his watch was messed up. Like he sent it for service at Independence and then just screwed it up. Anyways, he ended up having to send it to AP and it cost, and this is probably like early 2010s, maybe 2011, 2012. And his charge for service and I think a polish was 3,000 US at that time. So that's 10 years ago. So 5,000 doesn't seem too far off right now. All right, so back to integrated bracelets. I know that Christopher Negroni took us on a bit of a rabbit hole chase there, but you guys bring up Royal Oaks, I'll probably go down the rabbit hole. Where was I here? So I was showing. So this is a Laurent Ferrier Grand Sport Tourbillon Pursuit. Again, Laurent Ferrier, high horology watchmaker, doing an integrated bracelet, tourbillon with a salmon dial. Look, I think a lot of these manufacturers are trying to get in on the sport watch craze, whether that's Lange or, here you see Laurent Ferrier or, Vacheron with the overseas, reissue and the 222. Like everyone's trying to get in, and the integrated bracelet type look seems to be where everyone's trying to go. I think even didn't Moser do one too, Jen? What's the Moser one called? A Streamliner, maybe? Was it the Streamliner? Yeah, it was a Streamliner. Moser did the Streamliner. I'll put up the Streamliner here for you guys. For Moser, this is a Streamliner, it's a tourbillon. But here's kind of what Moser's doing. Like everyone's kind of doing this look now, and for me, it's just I don't know. Like, Professor, would you call this a cash grab by all these brands? Like, what do you think they're trying to do here?
Of course. It's nice to be copying each other. And I like how they're slowly drifting into this Salamon dial, Salamon, the salmon. They're all kind of playing around that color. That's the new kind of blue. Remember how they all drifted into the green? They all drifted into the Tiffany blue. Now they're all going into the Salamon.
Yeah, it's interesting. WatchPro actually calls this out. And again, and by the way, Professor, I don't know who owns WatchPro. So if it's Richemont that owns WatchPro, don't call me out on it. I don't know who owns WatchPro.
It's okay. It's okay.
So WatchPro writes, last year saw brands, so to talk about the salmon dial that you're describing, as diverse as Patek Philippe and Oris introduced models with salmon dials. The former, which is Patek Philippe, opting for a rose gold tint, the latter giving an orangey pink interpretation. Elsewhere, Rolex, Breguet, FP Journe, Cartier, and Lange have also dipped their toes in the sample. So yeah, salmon is becoming the new blue. Everybody's kind of trying to get on the train here with salmon. I don't know. For me, these case designs that are very, everyone's trying to hop on this train, and it's just, I don't know, man. I can't see these being something I'd buy. Like it's just, I don't get it. It's just they're just ugly pieces. Jen, you like ugly stuff, man. Tell me, would you buy these things? He likes weird shit, bro.
It's very hard to sell a non-round case watch. I mean, the only exception is like the tank and its variations and the Reverso. And like even a Panerai, I think the shape is very divisive, the cushion case. So I think to do it with something, a new product is really an uphill battle. but maybe that means there's also white space to go into. I don't know.
Geez, I was talking. I was on mute. We're going to show the GP Laureato Evergreen that Stavros had popped up here. Similar price point to the Piaget Polo. And I know Jin's going to hate this. I actually don't mind the look of this one. Amongst all of these that we've seen, this is the one I hate the least. Professor, what about you? Obviously, you're going to tell me GP should keep their watch. But of the ones I've shown you, between the Moser, Streamliner, the Laurent Ferrier watch, the Tourbillon, and this one, which one would you pick if you were to take one as a gift, I guess?
As a gift?
Yes, as a gift. Someone gifted one of those. You can pick one of the three as a gift.
So tell me again the three. This one, the
and we're not talking about complications, because I know you're going to take the Tourbillon because of complications. You got this one. We've got and just purely by looks, the Laurent Ferrier, the salmon dial.
No, they can keep that. Yes,
you can keep that, or a Moser Streamliner.
They can keep that. I'll go with the Girard-Perregaux.
The Girard-Perregaux. Jen, what about you?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate this watch, to be honest, either. You can't. It's hard to hate. It's not bad. I have the same problem with everyone else. That is that it looks too Royal Oak-ish, or Royal Oak crossed with a Nautilus, like a Nautilus-ish bracelet with a Royal Oak-ish case. It's hard to overcome that, especially with the big GP logo, which is placed where the AP logo should be. I mean, it's hard to kind of just get my mind away from that, and I would say that visually this is the best that we've seen.
This is an interesting one from Swinging Kangaroo, $2. Are those Panerai Bulgari Serpanti combo? Yeah, it definitely looks like it. That is one, by the way, Swinging Kangaroo, that I didn't look at was the Bulgari Octo Finissimo piece as well, which is also an integrated bracelet, I believe. Is it an integrated bracelet?
Yeah.
Integrated bracelet. This website is not working for me. This one's showing me in euro, 17,000 euro. I have a friend that collects these pieces. He's in Singapore. He used to be an AP collector, loved his Royal Oaks, and then he's kind of moved on to Bulgari because he feels the brand appreciates collectors a lot more than AP does, and so he's gone deep down the rabbit hole into Bulgari collecting. I think I may take this one over the Laureato, to be honest with you. I kind of like this design. Jen, I don't think you like this watch, right? I think you were telling me this wasn't something you're into.
No, I actually like it. I've tried one on. I tried this one on in the regular cheap, quote unquote, cheap Octo, the one in steel. Steel, I mean, it's a big watch, so steel is a little bit much for the wrist, but the titanium is great, and I normally don't like look at that movement. It's it's a big case, a square case, but they've managed to make a movement that's the perfect size for
micro rotor.
Yeah. It's thin, it is like a piece of jewelry, which is what a watch should be, in my opinion.
Piece of jewelry. Professor, are you going to tell Bulgari to keep this watch, or are you going to take this?
No, it's very interesting how one guy has had the greatest impact in the watch industry with one iconic design. As you know, the previous one, Girard-Perregaux, which you said, and I agree, looks like an AP, right? Because it has this octagonal, right? And the AP has been designed by Gerald Genta. The Octo is a Gerald Genta design because they bought his company, Bulgari, a few years back, and that was his design. So it's funny how we're talking about the same guy, how unique this person was. What will be interesting to see is a biography on Gerald Genta, and the designs he has done, which have never seen their final fruition. So this man, this fantastic designer, has impacted not just these, but the ones you mentioned previously, the Nautilus, the IWC, the Vacheron. I mean, if there is anything they should really create a statue is in Geneva of Gerald Genta. He's the one, I think, who saved most of these companies who are at the end one-trick ponies. Even for Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe today would be nothing close to what they are without Nautilus, regardless of what Thierry Stern says. Unfortunately, they are known to the wider public because of the Nautilus and the offshoot, which is the Aquanaut, because the Aquanaut, of course, has been impacted by the Nautilus.
Look, I'm guilty
So
of
amazing.
that. I'm guilty of that too, right? Like my first Patek that I purchased was the Nautilus 5711 blue.
No, you're
And at
not
the
guilty.
time, it's funny though, Professor. Think about it. At the time when I was buying the watch, you know, I didn't want the Aquanaut because it was the poor man's Nautilus. You don't hear people say that today. They used to say it back in 2016. It's the poor man's Nautilus. Today, it's like, you know, you see an Aquanaut, people give you props, like, oh shit, an Aquanaut. You know, back then people would be like, oh, why didn't you get the Nautilus? You know, so you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Christopher Negroni and Jin, this might be, I was just going to address this comment for you, Professor, and Jin, because Jin, I think, has worn this watch, so I think this is important. Christopher Negroni says, Octo looks perfect off the wrist, awkward on the wrist. Love the design. Jin, you've worn this watch. Why is it awkward? I don't know, Professor, if you've worn this watch.
Good point.
It's thick. Well, not thick in terms of, like, it's wide. It's wide. And so it's like wearing a bracelet. It's like wearing handcuffs. Well, a little bit more comfortable than handcuffs, but you know, it's like it's not the same as a normal watch. And when you think about, you know, your wrist, you know, it moves a lot, and so I think it does present challenges when you have a bracelet that wide. I mean, think about any other watch you own. The bracelet's not even close to that wide.
And we talked about this yesterday too on bracelets and just lack of tapering. You know, Professor, if you remember my show yesterday where I was talking about, we kind of talked about the Omega Seamaster 300 bracelet and how it doesn't taper. A lot of people don't like that. They just feel it's a little too 90s. And bracelets and the way bracelets can wear can definitely give people a bad taste in their mouth about the watch. And for me, that's a big part of why I don't like the Seamaster Professional 300, outside of the scallop bezel, which I've always hated. But the bracelet is a big factor, and also a factor why I didn't like the 1861 Speedmaster, which I did own, was also the bracelet. I do feel that the tapering of the bracelet they did was important and was good. So JB says, sounds great. So thin for a big-wristed guy, not practical. Frank V, this is for the Archie Luxury fans. AP or Patek, no cutting corners, fuckers. It's gotta hurt. Swing Kangaroo says, can you get a discount on an Octo? Man, I know dealers that can't get rid of them. So, you know, if you want to swing for the fences and get a discount, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Going into the AD, Jen, were you able to? Was there a discount at all? Were they willing?
This was at the Bulgari boutique in Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. So this was back in like 2018 when you could still get discounts on stuff. But yeah, at the boutique, you're not getting anything. You might get a bit of champagne. Back then, you could probably, but that's it.
I'm gonna pull up a watch that Jen looked at in the boutique in Switzerland, Professor. This is the JLC Reverso Tribute to 1931 Rouge. When you saw that,
is this the same one? I think this is like a.
This is a tribute. This is a tribute to 1931. Yours may just be the one you may have been looking at was just a tribute itself. I think it's the same watch. There's this one.
Yeah, this is definitely a different one. The other one, mine is like the one that I looked at was not this one.
Not this one. We'll go through images. I just looked up Rouge, so I'm sure we'll be able to find it. CB showed one yesterday in a Rouge, and maybe it's a rose gold. His was rose gold, I believe. I can't really find one that's different than the tribute, but I'll pull up the tribute Rouge. So Archie was kind of talking about like what's the ideal Reverso, and for me, it wasn't this one. It was the tribute to 1931 U.S. edition. Jen, I don't know if you remember the U.S. edition.
Yeah,
it's the one with the syringe hand, Fagliano strap. This was very limited. I think it was like a couple hundred pieces for the U.S. A few had come up for sale back when it was available or it was newer at the time, but I haven't seen any of these come up on market recently. But for me, if I were to get a Reverso again, I'd probably be getting this one. Professor, I actually sold Jen my Reverso 976 in the past. I was a little worried because I think Jen had a bit smaller wrists than I did, but he seemed to love it. But Jen, would you get the large case again? Would you go for a medium, and which Reverso would you actually get?
So I would get a medium, ideally, and it's JLC do not do themselves any favors in terms of naming the Reversos, because you have the Reverso like Classique, like small size, which is not the same as a medium today. Then they had the Reverso Grand Taille, which is more like a medium size today.
Can you pronounce Grand Taille like Archie does?
How does he pronounce it?
Grand Taille. The Grand Taille. The Grand Taille. Okay.
And then they have the Grand Reverso, which is a totally different size, which is more of what most Reversos look like today. I think medium is a great size. And I honestly, if I were to get a Reverso, I don't think I'm there yet. But one day in my life, I think I would like to get a Reverso with a plain case back and get it engraved.
Rohit is saying, is this the one, the tribute small seconds?
Yes. That's the one I saw.
Right. Rohit, Jen's got better taste than I do. This is a more modern piece. This is actually, I think this is the one that CB actually has. So yeah. This was a boutique edition. You were in Switzerland. Did they actually have it in the boutique? Like, were you able to buy it, or was it?
I don't even think they had like a replica or a display model. But they told me at that time, I think 2019, they said, no, we can't just buy one. You have to wait on the list and come back here to pick it up. So it was in hot demand when it just came out at that time. I think the production is fairly limited. It's not a limited edition, but so it's not like you can just buy one at deep discount. You have to basically cough up full retail. But I think full retail is still under 10 grand. It's like, if you want a dress watch to wear for the rest of your life, that's an icon that looks great. I mean, it's hard to look past this one or the blue one.
Yeah, I like the blue one a little bit better. Not a huge fan of red, but it would be unique, right? I mean, I don't have too many red watches that I have, except for maybe the Mission to Mars. We got a super chat at £2 from Ja, saying, hi, could I email a pic to get your opinions, please? Ja, if you want, I've put my Instagram there. If you have Instagram, that might be an easier method for me to pull it up. It's just Instagram is at hura.tan. So feel free, if you have Instagram, to send it there. If not, just post it maybe in the chat, and I'll see if I can find it on Google Images to pull up. Forbin Colossus says, I can't look at dark red dials like this GLC without thinking Dracula's cape or coffin lining. Professor, do you feel the same way? Does this remind you of Nosferatu, Count Dracula, or not?
I personally like this. I'm not conventional, so I like these colors. You know what would be nice, Tanzil? It would be nice if we can get the watch comparisons, this versus something else. If we can get people to start engaging on, let's do GMT this versus Reverso that, or 3 top great watches and 3 garbage watches.
That's what we call the watch battles. Yeah, sure. If people want to do
watch
that,
battles.
yeah, feel free to if you want to super chat it in, you can super chat it in. If you want to put it in the chat, put it in the chat. I'll pull them up and we'll do watch battles if you guys like. It's whatever really the chat wants to do. We're just kind of bouncing around topics.
It seems that the chat is all about this blonde lady.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that in the
Who's
chat,
this
guys. So if
blonde
you're looking
lady?
for,
I have no idea. But
yeah, if you're looking for a comment, guys, you're on the wrong show. This is the Watch Talk show. We only talk watches here. So you may want to reserve any of those comments maybe for the dungeon or for Archie's main show because we aren't really up to date on what you guys are talking about. JB says, I've always drooled on Reversos until I tried one on. Not for me. I was actually the opposite. I wasn't a fan of the Reverso at all until I tried one on at the Wynn Casino in Vegas years ago. I guess I was at the JLC store in the casino or in the forums or whatever. And then, I was with my wife and I said, hey, I might as well just try this on. Like, why not? Right. I'm here. And I put it on and for me, it fit extremely well. And I was just like, I have to have one of these. And I didn't understand until I tried it on, where I think JB's experience was a little different from that. Saad says, reminds me of the Mustic Cartier Red. Let's go Mustic Cartier, which is the lower end of Cartier.
Yeah, that's true. They did release a lot of these back in the day. Or is this new?
This is a tank. This is a Cartier tank.
They've reintroduced the Must range.
Hey, Nato, how's it going? We have General Saad. We got the Professor. We've got Jin on the panel. Nato, I know you know Jin from back in the day. Big Meech says, it's the Professor. You got a lot of friends here, Professor, for you. All right, let's keep going here. Rohit says, I have 2 Reversos, planning to add more. Love them. Yeah, there are just some people who love Reversos, who don't care about, hey, is it a hype watch or whatever. They just love the way they look. I love the history of this watch. And the history is interesting because everyone kind of talks about the Reverso being an icon, right? It was this iconic watch. Art Deco, was made for polo players, British polo players in India, commissioned to Jaeger-LeCoultre to actually make a watch so that they could play polo, not break the glass, reverse it. JLC actually tried to sell the design of this to a couple of brands, including Patek Philippe. I'll see if I can actually find one because I did see one in the museum, but there is a Patek Philippe.
It's a very thin watch, though. You need to be thin wrist. It doesn't work for those who have bigger wrists, bigger guys. I mean, if you're a big guy, this looks like you're swallowing a pill.
Well, there are actually
an aspirin.
Bigger Reversos, especially these days.
No, I mean the Mustic Cartier.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
the Mustic Cartier is like very thin. The other ones, I completely agree with you. Yeah. Please.
So this is a Patek Philippe Reverso. So Patek Philippe did commission a very small amount of Reversos when JLC was looking to sell the design. They do have it at the museum, but this is a very rare Patek Philippe Reverso that you obviously will not find anywhere. But this is interesting about their history, Jen. For a long period of time, I think the Reverso was pretty dormant, until the resurgence, maybe like in the 80s, 90s kind of a thing. Like, I mean, trying to find a 60s Reverso isn't very easy.
I'm not even sure if they really exist. I mean, yeah, it was maybe 60s, but yeah, I mean the brand was really kind of down and out. But I think they released the Grand Thai first in the 90s.
Yep.
And when that came out, more contemporary size, it kind of helped to reinvigorate that line. And now, I mean, JLC, they do so much. They have no problem selling Reversos. I think they struggle to sell the other pieces. Watch nerds will all know the quality of JLC and appreciate them. But at the same time, I feel like even watch nerds are like, everybody appreciates the quality, everybody respects the brand. But when it comes to actually buying one, I don't know if that many people, if they have the same level of customers as they do admirers.
I agree. I don't think that, I just don't think that they have the brand awareness that's out there. And like you said, I think everybody kind of just checks the box of the Reverso being an icon. But I'm gonna err on the side here, Jen. So, Professor, I don't know if you know, but 4 or 5 years ago on the ArchieLuxury live stream, Jin actually coined the term Phoenix brand, which was a brand that died, and has risen from the ashes, that are trying to play on the history, the long 400 years history of our brand. It's like, come on, you guys died and you're not even the same company. Look, on the Reverso side, like, I wouldn't say it's not a Phoenix brand in that sense, but the Reverso itself could be a Phoenix watch, in that it was extremely popular at a certain time, probably went out of production for a long time, came back in the 90s. And then now, obviously, it's just kind of an okay watch. Like, not everybody loves it. I love it. I think Jen likes it. I'm not going to speak for him about loving it, but, it's just, and Big Meat says JLC is mid at best, right? Like, absolutely. I don't think anyone thinks they're, and they do have some pieces that are considered high horology, but for the most part, they're, and look, JLC was a movement maker, right? Or LeCoultre was a movement maker, for a long time. And during when Patek Philippe was getting, under some turmoil and we're looking to sell, LeCoultre was one of the buyers, the movement maker for Patek, and then the Stern family, Stern Frère, which means Stern brothers in French. Stern Frère was the other buyer that was interested in buying Patek Philippe, and then the Sterns actually they completed the purchase of Patek Philippe at the time, and then they've owned Patek Philippe ever since. So that's okay. So we got a lot of comments here, so I'm just going to plow through them. From Forbin Colossus. So about dark red dial wearers, do they envision wearing it with a certain suit or outfit? It's a polarizing color that begs for some color complement. Jin, you wanted to buy this, so what would you actually wear this with? And we're talking about the Rouge. We're talking about the Rouge dial reversal.
I think that's the big challenge, is that it's such a, you put that kind of this kind of deep, like almost claret color onto a, like, what do you wear it with? Like with the blue, I feel that the blue would not clash with black tie dress. So you can kind of see some logical uses. I think this you could wear. It'd definitely be a little bit daring, but at the same time, you see people wearing sport watches or like some other Apple watches or some other crap. And in comparison, this would still be very elegant and kind of complete the look better than something like that.
For you, Professor, Dirk Diggler says, I want a dual face Reverso, tried it on and loved it, but was told the service on these things are like 4K. So be aware of this. So for you, Professor, that's the rebuttal for my AP. You got a 4K service cost on a freaking Reverso. Like, come on. So, Dirk, if that is the case, yes, please be aware. I actually want the exact same watch, Dirk. I either want to do a face or I want a tribute calendar. So I will definitely beware. Nato is asking, do you get a Reverso before you get a Patek or after? Professor, this is for you. Do you get a Reverso before you get a Patek or after?
If you have money, Patek goes first. You got no money, Reverso.
Jen, what about you?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by Patek, but
any Patek, anyone.
Actually, I actually like the Reverso.
So Jen would go with the Reverso first. I've owned both, and I actually bought my Patek Nautilus 5711 before I bought my Reverso. I think I bought a bunch of Calatravas before the Reverso. I bought the annual calendar after the Reverso. So I went Patek first. But yeah, I think it's kind of in line with what the professor said. It really depends on your budget, if you have the budget for it. And look, we're just talking, and this is Reverso, right? If you're talking JLC itself, you've got the Master Ultra Thin Perpetual calendar, which I know Archie's not a huge fan of, but hey, I mean, it's probably a pretty inexpensive Perpetual calendar from a decent watchmaker where you could get. Another fan of the professor from Trooper says, we appreciate all your insights, Mr. L. Professor. Hope you are good, our friend. And then Jin, this is for you. You know this guy, Logan Hall, longtime OG. It says, really good to see you, Ten and Jin, back on the live streams, just like the old days. Keep it up. We're always happy to see you, Logan Hall. Feel free to help us out with any comments and any things you want to see. All right, here we go, Professor. You wanted a battle. This is a battle for. So you're not. Can someone read this out for me so I can type this up?
JLC Reverso Tourbillon Platinum.
Tourbillon Platinum.
There is a JLC Reverso minute repeater that is probably one of the cheapest minute repeaters you can buy. And it's made by JLC, so you can't really say anything about the movement, right? If I don't know if there's too many people looking for that, but if you want one, they're out there.
All right, so you guys maybe talk about. I have it up on the screen here. I'll make it a little bit bigger. This is the 185th anniversary back in 2018. They made a Tourbillon Reverso in platinum. I'm going to pull up the other one here. This is a Chopard. You see Chopard 1860 Flying Tourbillon Revolution. You see Flying Tourbillon Revolution 1860. Make sure I have the right reference for him. Ooh, I don't know. All right, so you guys see the Reverso on the screen.
Yep.
This is the Reverso Platinum Tourbillon. And for all the folks, Jin and I are not a big fan of tourbillons. Professor, I think we're not going to speak for him if you like tourbillons. Do you care for tourbillons at all?
Yeah.
Professor says, do not bend the tourbillon. He likes the tourbillon. All right, so that's the JLC. This is the LUC Chopard. Yeah, when I saw it, and by the way, Jin, this is your friend Waco who wrote this article. Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to care too much about Waco, but wow, look at this. This is a beautiful watch.
Yeah. This is a showstopper right here. Like, it's just, it almost makes you want to cry. It's this, wow.
So this is a flying tourbillon over here on the right, 1860 flying tourbillon. You've got the just the rake here. So he's talking about the one on the right, 2021 model. You can see the flying tourbillon is 8.2 millimeters in height, very thin compared to the standard 1860, which is 7.2 millimeters in height. Yeah, look, if we're gonna do this watch battle, I'll start with Professor. What's your vote? You get the JLC, which I'll show up on the screen, tourbillon, or maybe let's give it a nicer tourbillon. Here's a tribute duo face tourbillon. Let's give it make a bit more fair. JLC tourbillon, or let me pull up the Chopard again. The Chopard tourbillon on the right.
Okay. So JLC is very well known for its gyro tourbillon, but not for this in particular. So I would go for the Chopard.
All right, Professor for Chopard. Jin.
Oh yeah, Chopard for sure.
It's going to be a clean sweep. Clean sweep here. Clean sweep. Chopard.
One thing that I'll add actually is that the Reverso tourbillon has a round tourbillon in a rectangular case, whereas the Chopard is a round tourbillon, inside a round case, which I think is visually there's a big difference.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
General
it's very
Saad,
fitting for that. Yeah.
So we got a clean sweep winner for the Chopard. General Saad's asking, Jin, 5101 Patek versus JLC, which would you pick? I'm going to pull up a 5101 Patek for everybody to see.
We have a super chat.
Yeah, I'll get to the super chat in a second. We're not ArchieLuxury. We like to give everybody value here.
Okay.
Especially the General, who's a panelist and helps us out. So
General is number one.
General, please join us. I'm going to drop the link. Jin, what do you think, real quick, before we get to the super chat?
Well, I assume he means the Reverso, and
versus the Reverso. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I prefer the Reverso. Although I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all.
This is a tourbillon. Tourbillon 10-day power reserve. Brigade numerals. This is actually nice. I mean, if it was this,
one.
Yeah. Okay, so Saad, if it was this one, I'm gonna go with the Patek. Any other one, I'll go with the JLC. All right, so as the professor has pointed out, Phoenician cedar, Great Australian fan, Australian $5. Thank you for staying up or getting up early. 2 steel sports, 39 to 41 millimeter, and 1 yellow gold dress on strap, 37 to 39 millimeter, under 30,000 collectively. Okay, so Professor, you definitely know your Rolex steel sports. He's trying to make it on a collection under 30,000.
That's about 20,000 US, or 21,000 US.
Well, he's the professor's is in the UK, so.
Yeah, no, but it's hard. It's because this is like what, 25K US?
21,000.
21,000 US.
Yeah.
Okay. We Houston, we have a problem. Do we steal the watches?
Well, I think
What
it's
do we
important,
do?
right? I
How
think
much
it's
do we
important.
need to buy an angle grinder and a lock password to a shed?
Yeah.
Well, look, he again. You can
Used? Can
obviously
we do
the whole-
used?
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, so we can go for no date sub pre-ceramic
Mm-hmm.
used, and then we can get a day just, right?
Mm-hmm. Would you consider the
again-
Datejust is your steel sports? There's 2 steel sports.
Yeah, the 2 steel sports, right? I'll go for Rolex for that. Or if I want to go cheaper than that, then we'll go one no date sub pre-ceramic and 1 Omega.
Yeah, I think I think you're going to be better on the budget if you do that.
Yeah, we stick with that, or even we can go cheaper than that and go for 2 Omegas.
No, come on.
So we can make it.
Rolex and the
Okay.
Omega. Rolex and the Omega.
Okay, that's okay. But then the problem is, what do we do with the gold dress?
That's the thing, because you got about, if you're doing let's say you're saying you're at about 15,000, maybe less if you go with a cheaper Omega like a 1861. You're about 13 to 15,000. So that leaves you with like 6 to 8K basically left US dollars. Jen, what are you taking 6 to 8K gold, 37 to 39 millimeters?
I think there's a lot of JLCs you could get. Not the hottest JLCs, but I mean, you can actually get a Reverso from the 90s in solid gold for that price. You can get one of the Master Control from like probably the 2000s, early 2010s for that price. It's hard to. I don't think you could get anything nicer for that price.
What about the Universal Geneves, the Paul
Yeah,
Routers?
you could obviously go vintage. I mean, you could go for a vintage IWC.
Problem is you probably wouldn't find the 37 mil in the pull router, right? He wants 37 to 39.
Yeah, not a pull router, but like vintage IWC, they have some oversized ones, like 37, 38 mil ones. You can get those under $5,000. Even like GJ, our friend, showed me one that he's tempted by. An IWC in platinum in the 60s, gorgeous watch, under $5,000. I mean, it's hard to say no. I think gold dress watches, there's such a large back catalog that you can find something if you're not obsessed about what the brand is and what's hot right now.
And I think that's the hard part about this question, right? Is I'm not going to put most of this money into the gold. Because you really want, and I think that's why Professor was on the right track with at least one Rolex, 5-digit pre-ceramic probably, an Omega, which I think would be a staple in a sports watch. You can get an 1861 Omega Speedmaster, or you can get a Seamaster if you want it. But you kind of have 2 divers at that point. At least you have a chronograph and a diver. Because if you have the Speedmaster 1861, you got a chronograph. If you have the sub, you got a diver, and then if you have and again, we're kind of going cheap on the gold piece because it's your dress watch. You're not trying to stunt on your dress watch necessarily. I think you may not be wearing it that often. So we're going a little bit cheaper on that with potentially a vintage IWC or, a ton of catalog out there for the gold one. So that's for you, Phoenician Cedar. Not an easy question. We appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher Negroni. Great watch talk. So Christopher Negroni, if you're new to the channel, usually in the afternoons, we'll try to do for the European hours, straight watch talk. We got the professor who joins us, Jin, aka Rodin 3.0, who was my former co-host on the ArchieLuxury live stream back in 2018, who's joined us. Hopefully Saad will join us. When Saad joins us, we know we're going to go down the rabbit hole of gaudy Rolex day dates and obscure Rolexes.
He's the king. He's the king of day dates.
This is a good question from JBJB, 249 euros. What is the difference between NATO and NATO? Interestingly enough, those two have definitely been confused with each other. Both of them have been around the channel for a heck of a long time. I can remember when I was streaming years ago, I'd see both of them. So definitely two guys. NATO responds to the comment, JBJB, one likes the strap, the other likes the bracelet. Okay. Saad, we're calling for you. Saad is here. Saad, please join us. We'd love to go down and talk about some day dates here. We've talked about a lot of pieces. Saad called Mike the Snake for the San Fran trip. He says, thanks for reminding. We got LA Methwich in the chat. Luce says, thanks. Been researching old Chopard LEC 1860s. Really liking their watches. Some good value on pre-owned basic dress. Well, actually, they're a very good manufacturer for finishing as well. You'll get high horology from Chopard. Not a brand that's talked about a lot. I think if you ever brought it up with Archie, he would just dismiss it. But Tim also speaks a lot about very highly about Chopard's finishing. So I would definitely take the time to research. We've got the other NATO in the chat. Jen, this is for you, $7.99 Australian dollars. I'd like to hear Jen's thoughts on the Reverso Squadra. I'm going to pull one up actually. Reverso Squadra. This is going to be a funny one. Let me put up a real gaudy Squadra, not gaudy, but just a really obscene Squadra for you.
You spend $8 for an opinion on this. Like, what do you want? Like
he wants to explode, man. Explode. He thinks you're too nice. He wants to
I think $8 is a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to explode for $8. I mean, come on, $80 maybe. And by the way, I don't actually keep any of this money, so no. I mean, it's just fucking. Somebody there was. I mean, they had to have been on something. Who the hell would design this watch? It's so sad. I mean, I do give JLC credit in that they're willing to experiment and do crazy things. Sometimes it works out okay. Sometimes it ends up like this, which is.
Oh my goodness. This is so NATO. This is toxic sludge. Jin's being too nice. Like, come on. Like, look at these fucking watches. And Jin, the thing is, Archie, I think, actually owned one of these too.
Yes.
Like, just oh my god. And if you ever watch this, probably this Tim Mosso video that I'm highlighting over here, he's probably talking really nicely of this piece because he's a real JLC fanboy.
Well, and he also has to sell it.
He does. 2008, 8,800. Come on, who would spend that kind of money on the Squadra? NATO, avoid this like the plague. Do not get the Squadra for the love of God. Do not get the Squadra. This is a good one here. Professor Christopher Negroni, Explorer 14270. It's a 36 millimeter Explorer sub pre-ceramics. We agreed with you. And Gold Cartier tank. Great 3-piece combo deal. I think Jen, you would probably like this. I don't think you like the Submariner, but you definitely like the Explorer and the gold tank.
Yeah, it's a great combo.
Great 3-piece combo. JP says, "Oh my God, Squadra is so bad." Yes, sir. Rohit, I'm in the Netherlands. This is work time. Works great for me. Thanks for great content, Rohit. I'll speak some Dutch for you. Goedenavond. Thank you for joining us. I can only say goedenavond, goedemiddag, and goedemorgen in Dutch. I can only say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But thank you, Moser, for joining us. That's my Dutch commentary for you today. Rolly Mania is joining in, 2254.50 Omega. This is a Seamaster, I believe. 16570 Explorer 2. Day date, yellow gold on a strap. So if you're going to go day date, this is a good one, Professor. If he's going to go day date, he probably has to go 16. He's definitely going to go 4-digit reference day date, I think. Don't you think?
To get it under 20K total?
Are we talking about the same budget?
Yeah, you can probably get a 16. What was the reference? 1601 is just the date just. What's the 4-digit day date reference?
Day date 1803.
1803, that's the one. I keep thinking of 1601 for some reason.
The Seamaster Professional, this is Ron the Shrink Seamaster, which is probably like a $2,500 watch. The Explorer 2 you can get for $6.5 probably these days. So that's $9. That leaves you $12 for a day date.
Yeah, this could work.
Yeah, so at 12, you're talking an 1803, probably, maybe 18038.
The only problem with the 1803 for him, and even the 18038, is he wanted a 37 to 39 millimeter dress watch, and this is a 36.
Although it does wear a bit bigger than like a true dress watch. But yeah, I mean, I actually like the vintage day-dates because you can get all sorts of crazy dials on them, and the Paipan dial is, like the regular Paipan dial is great. The fact that it doesn't have quickset, or is only single quickset for the 18038, I think that would be very annoying. There's nothing worse than having a non-quickset watch and having to fucking wind it, and then you only wear it once a week or whatever, so you have to do it all the time. It's horrible.
John Galt agrees with me. Squadra equals toxic sludge. Forbin says the Squadra design removes the rectangular appeal and squares it in distorted gargoyle. This is interesting because the Reverso is built off the golden ratio. And I I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with this one. So LA Methodist says JLC on a NATO strap. I think we've caught up to the chat. Aaron Fletcher, how you doing? We're good. 18 Saad, I'm gonna start talking day dates here without you. We got the 1803 day date 1803 Paipan dial. Show the Paipan dial, vintage Paipan.
I mean, that's gorgeous. It's I think the cool thing about Rolex is, certainly with the date, the date just, is that the design's barely changed in the past 50 years. It's basically the same watch. So you know, if you buy a vintage piece, it still looks modern, but you still, but you get something a little bit different. And I don't think nobody gives a shit if you wear about which date just you're wearing or which date you're wearing. Get this with an Italian date disc. That's schmicko.
What do you think, Professor? You obviously have seen some day dates. You know, we've gone through a lot of day date dials. I do agree with you. Paipan dial is actually pretty stunning. I would prefer this on a bracelet. I'm not a big fan of it on the strap. Like, I'll show this on the strap. It's
yeah. I think you said it, Tanzil. You said it. You took the word out of my mouth. Day date is all about the bracelet. No bracelet, no day date. These gimmicky, you know, leather straps and all that, they don't bring out the identity of the day date.
Yeah, I agree.
So unfortunately, our friend has to go 2 Seikos. We downgrade him now. 2 Seikos and 1 full day date with bracelet.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I think the 1803. You know, let's just go shopping.
You could get an 1803 for about maybe 11 grand US. So I think
let's do that. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Let's see here. 1803. This one is. Let's see if this is on a bracelet or not. No, strap. So this is 7 grand. Euros. I'll have to go to Chrono. There's not a ton on the market on Watch Recon. Let's go to Chrono. Rolex date 1803.
But you probably have to discount a big amount off of Chrono 24 prices.
6.5% is the seller's fee on Chrono.
No, but they're all overpriced here anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a 10% cut off of Chrono. Let's find a bracelet.
And we might not even find the watch.
No. Okay, so here's the first bracelet. This is 11,500.
Yeah,
no original box.
Get one for 10.5, 11.
Yeah, so he probably could get there. Toyota Mo says the President's bracelet is iconic. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like putting a Royal Oak on a strap. Not really my thing. Question from Aaron. Question 10. What is your favorite thing to do in the springtime? Aaron, my favorite thing to do in the springtime is to take my car out of storage for a nice drive. Go for a nice rip. That is my favorite thing to do in the springtime. I live in Canada. Fortunately, I cannot drive my sports car all year round. So when spring comes, I do like to drive my sports car when spring is here. What is my favorite thing to do in the summertime? Aaron asks again. My favorite thing to do in the summertime is to meet up with my friend Jin, who has not been to my city in many, many moons. Have some dinner, have some after dinner shenanigans, talk watches, and yeah, just have a good time. Him and I used to meet up a lot in Toronto when he used to live there, but he's a little far from me now. JB, Toyota Mo is known as the medium legend. That is true. LA Methwit.
What is a medium legend?
Toyota Mo is known around the Archieverse as the medium legend. Bear would say, "Oh, this guy's a legend. This guy's a legend," and then Toyota Mo, he's like, "Oh no, just medium legend for Toyota Mo. He's not a full legend. He has not been promoted yet to full legend. He's still medium legend." LA Methwitch, same guy yesterday in the chat saying stuff like the day-date, just an OP, but different movement and bracelet. What do you guys think? Is a day-date just an Oyster Perpetual with a different movement and a different bracelet?
I mean, if you say different movement, different bracelet, isn't that like a different watch?
Completely different watch. That's what I'm thinking, right? It's like it's a completely different watch. Like when you talk, okay, look.
No, I get it. That the case size, the overall aesthetic is kind of the same, but it's different. Like the OP is more sporty. The day-date is all gold, so it's different.
The difference between the OP and the day-date is like apples and oranges. There is no relevance.
It's like saying this is a date just.
Yeah, I mean, both are great watches.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, I mean,
but also this is not a GMT, nor can you see the second-hand time. This is an completely for older people. You cannot see the second time zone. You cannot see it. So forget this watch. It's a nice watch, complication, blah blah, and all of this. But in reality, you cannot see the inner disc.
Mark the Shark asks, question 10, what is your favorite thing to do in the nighttime? Unfortunately, my nights have been taken over by the ArchieLuxury mainstream. So that is what I've been spending my nights on these days, has been live streaming with the Pontiff and the Bear and everybody else. But aside from that, what else do I like to do at night? Honestly, just hang out with friends, talk watches, talk cars. I'm a big car and watch guy. And just relax, enjoy, obviously de-stress from work and just have a good time, right? Everyone's here for an escape and having some fun. And yeah, that's the favorite thing to do at night.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to agree with Toyota Mo, right? I mean, as we said, oranges and apples, bananas and whatever, the difference between the OP and the day-date or remind me, day just we were saying, or day-date?
I said that so he said the Oyster Perpetual is the day-date is basically an Oyster Perpetual, but a different movement and a different bracelet.
Yeah, no. OP became relevant and important when they discovered colors, and they wanted to address the issue of colorblind people, and just they produced these gimmicky colors. It's a gimmicky watch, right? And then the hypeness around the different colors, but it's not a serious watch. The OP, it's you might say, well, it has the same movement as the Deep Sea Challenge. That's fine, but the Deep Sea Challenge is not a serious movement, but it's a serious watch when it comes to its technological feat, and so that's what you're buying. The Sky Dweller is a very unique piece, but the Sky Dweller is not a functional watch as people think. I would take the GMT series or the Explorer if you're looking for the second hand to see the time in different zones, right? The 42 is great for people like myself who have gray brain cells and aging eyes. Otherwise, yeah, it's a beautiful watch, but you have it just to show it rather than look at the time. Yeah, most of the times I don't even see the time on my watch. I look at other things.
It's jewelry.
It's more about my satisfaction. The watch is my satisfaction,
I'm gonna
Sometimes
blast
I
this.
do. I don't even care what time it is. You know, I just wear it. I just wear it. I wear it for the fun of it. And I do believe that people should enjoy their watches in whatever format. But I never look at the time on my watch. I don't need to.
I'm gonna blast through some car questions here real quick. I know car questions can sink the channel. Trooper asked, "Do I rate the Nissan 370Z as a cool car?" Hey man, if you have a 370Z and you enjoy it, it only matters to you. I like all cars. I have friends that have this car that do a lot of modifications to it. I do feel that some of those modifications, if they're tastefully done, can be very cool. So I will say yes. If you enjoy it and you tastefully mod it, it can be a cool car. Christopher Negroni says, that's like when people say, why did you buy the V8? The V6 is exactly the same. Christopher Negroni, I mostly get the question of, why did you not buy the V12? And you got the V10, you cheap fyke. They'll tell me with my Lambo. So,
Hey, Tan, I want to ask you, what's an arrogant car?
An arrogant car. You know what's funny? Everyone tells me the Lamborghini was an arrogant. So I used to own a Porsche GT3 RS before my Lambo. And I remember talking about switching out from the Porsche to the Lambo. I had a few Porsches before, and all of my friends were like, "No, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. The Porsche is so much better. The Porsche is so much better. Lambos are for arrogant people." And yeah, I mean, I do see people that drive them obnoxiously. They're very loud. They have a lot of street presence. An arrogant drive. I found more arrogance, to be totally honest with you, between Ferrari owners and Porsche owners than I've seen with Lambo owners. Lambo owners are mostly the lone wolves. The Porsche owners are the guys, the nerds on the chats, like that. There are Rolex hype players. That's who they are. And the Ferrari owners are very snobby, high-end collectors that we'd see in the Patek community. The ones that say, "Oh, if you don't have a perpetual calendar, you're shit." Perpetual chrono, for example. So I would say arrogant owners, Ferrari and Porsche, but that's coming from me as a Lambo owner. So people will disagree. So we're talking about hey,
What
Rolly
would you
Mini.
say about a punter who owned an entry level who wore an entry level Rolex and entry level Mercedes?
Entry level Rolex, entry level Mercedes. You're living the dream. That's what you're doing there. That is living the dream. That he's describing himself, by the way, Professor.
No, I'm not. Well, maybe.
Yeah, you are. You are. You have the OP and you have the entry level Mercedes. You're definitely speaking about yourself. But living the dream is what it is.
And who is tell me about the Tesla owner? The one who's saving the environment.
I mean, if you're doing it for that purpose, right? Somebody who's very principled in their life, somebody who will buy a Grand Seiko because Grand Seiko, they think the principles of Grand Seiko, like it's Craig Shipp who says Grand Seiko says Grand Seiko is better finishing than Patek Philippe. I'll say Tesla owners are big thinkers, not a lot of substance sometimes to them. That's how I'll describe a Tesla owner. I'd say Tesla
I
owner
agree.
into a Grand Seiko owner. Rolly Manus is loving the stuff. Sandro, he's happy to see Jin back with me. And now we have the professor as our third. Swinging Kangaroo, Tan, are you going to move to a hypercar world from exotic car world? That is a big jump. It's even a big jump from a V10 to a V12. You're almost looking to double the price on the secondary market to get into a V12 from a V10. So if you're talking about jumping into hypercar, which is probably the SVJ even, maybe considered a hypercar, that's even more money. Or Koenigsegg, Pagani, that's wild dreams. So Swinging Kangaroo, I'd love to think I could, but I don't think I ever will. We've got a super chat from Barry. Hey guys, £2. Thank you, Barry. Going back to this whole question around the OP. Another super chat here from Ja, £5. Hi, Pick sent you picture interested in your panel's thoughts. Which options you would prefer for my fourth and final watch? Okay, so let me pull this up. All right, so let me just save this photo. I'll send this to my WhatsApp because I think, all right. This is always the tough part about sometimes running the shows by yourself is it's not always the easiest. All right, so I've sent the photo to myself. I think I would be a little bit faster than Archie on this. Okay, so here is so Ja £5 saying, hi, sent the picture Insta, interested in the panel's thoughts. as to which option you prefer for my fourth and final watch. Thanks. What did he say on Instagram? Hi, Tan. Looking for a fourth and final watch to add to my current collection of Nautilus 3800 white dial, 5800 blue dial, Calatrava 6000G. Jen, you're going to like that. Blue. Got 3 options, as you can see. I think I got my fave, but interested in your thoughts. Let me see if I can pull this up because I think you guys are going to have to see. So he's got option 1 here, which is his 3800 white dial, 5800. He says 5800. I don't know if he means 5810, but 5800 blue dial, 6000 in G, which Jen loves. This is the Calatrava in white gold with a blue dial. And now we've got an annual calendar chronograph is option 1. A lot of blue here in this. I'm just going to read these through, and then Jen and Professor, you guys can look through it. A lot of blue as a theme. Let's go to option 2. So then he's adding a 5205 annual calendar to it. So the first one was adding an annual calendar chronograph to a Calatrava to basic 3-hander Nautilus. Here he's adding an annual calendar, no chronograph. And here he's adding the 5146 annual calendar. Is there a fourth option?
Yeah.
Fourth option.
It's just 3. Yeah.
Just 3. All right. So that is what we're looking at here. And what do you guys think? What do you think is the one to add? So he's got 2. He's basically got 3 3-hander watches with dates. And then he's looking to add an annual calendar complication, either annual calendar chronograph, an annual calendar in a very modern design, which is the 5205, or an annual calendar in the classic design of the 5146.
Oh, 5960 for sure. I mean,
okay, so Jen's going with option 1. Professor, what do you think? I'll scroll down.
does he have Patek? The other 3 are all.
These are all Patek. They're all Patek.
No, but does the other 3 watches that he has, because he said he wants to add.
These are 3. So no. So he has these first 3, the Nautilus 3800.
He has the first 3.
He has the first 3. So he has He has 2 Nautilus, and he has a Calatrava 6000 G. These are all 3-hander with a date. Well, this is not really a 300. This is small seconds. The 6000. The small sections. Yeah, this is an annual calendar chrono in the first option. This is an annual calendar by itself with moon phase. In the second option, this is the 5205. And this is an annual calendar moon phase in the 5146.
So I would go with the 5146.
So Professor's going with option number 3. And for myself, I would agree with Jen. You got an annual calendar chronograph. I would go with option 1 with the annual calendar chronograph. Everybody knows, this is a very popular watch, the annual calendar 5205. Personally speaking, I think you're just getting more in the annual calendar chronograph. As a true collection where you have a chronograph, you have a dress watch in the 6000, you have some sport watches and a vintage sport watch here. I think option 1 is probably a more complete collection for me. So that would be my pick. Hopefully, Ja, that answers your question. Apologies for having to make you send that to my Instagram, but I appreciate you helping me out. We got Jason M, a good friend of mine on Instagram. Good to see you, Jason. $10 Californian. Jin and 10 live stream 2 days in a row. Great show, guys. Thank you. Jin, you are very much appreciated here, like the professor.
No, thank you, Jason. And, Tan and I were just talking about making a boys trip up to Montreal. So we'll let you know if that happens.
Yes, sir, Jason. We're going to go. We'll take Jin to Ribbon Reef. We'll take him to Stogie's Cigar Lounge. We'll have a good time. Jin likes his scotch. He likes his whiskeys. I'm sure he'll have a couple of nice drinks with you, Jason. So we'll definitely come down and see you in Montreal. Trooper, $5 Australian. Great show, Tan. Thank you, Trooper. Sandro H says 5960, which is option 1. Toyota Mo says he needs a weekly calendar. I would agree. I want the weekly calendar as well. John Galt picks option 2. Option 2 is the one with the 5205 annual calendar. A lot of sea blue. Option 3 would make sense too, in the sense that like you have a different dial, a slate gray dial. It adds a bit of versatility. Everyone's not a huge fan of the 5146 layout of the annual calendar. But I think like with option 1, just it's just a little heavy set on blue, but you've got a chronograph there. Barry asks
But
2
you
pounds.
can't see the chronograph, Tanzil. You can't see it. I mean, I don't know how old the guy is, but it's a gimmicky thing. You can't see it. The chronograph needs to be worked on. I mean, it has a chronograph, but you need to have eagle eyes.
No,
Eagle.
you don't need to see anything. It's all about
You
just.
don't
the
need
snob.
to see. It's all about the
Okay.
snobbery.
Okay.
Jin is a disciple of
That's
the
fine.
Panther.
I'm fine
Look
with
at
that.
how beautiful this watch is. Like I couldn't, like I couldn't not take this watch. Like it was just too good.
No, it's fucking, yeah. This is the Spitz right here.
All right, so this is going to be for you, Professor. Barry, 2 pounds. What would you guys say is an entry-level Rolex? Professor, you first.
Air King.
Air King for Professor. Jin.
Well, Air King is a very correct answer, technically. So, yes, I agree.
And I'll
Okay.
tell you why. I'll tell you why. The new Air King. It's a beautiful watch, and it has the intricacies, the quirkiness that other pieces do not have it. You know, the dial, the green, the indices, the luminescence on the 369, which is kind of a little bit like the Explorer 1. It's a nice piece. It's nicer than people make it be. And it's good. It's a nice piece to have, more so than the OP, which is supposed to be the entry-level watch. But, and I think it has been revamped. It looks nicer. The clasp is nice. The crown protector is nice. Overall, for its value, it's a very good watch.
For me, guys, I'm not just gonna think of entry level as entry level price point. I think it's entry level into the Rolex brand, and I'm gonna go with my journey where my entry level into the Rolex brand was a Datejust. I do feel a lot of us got into Rolex from the Datejust, and I think that just taking price aside, because maybe you can get an OP for cheaper, or maybe Air King's gonna get you into the sports models, right? For me, Air King was not necessarily where I was gonna go when I first entered Rolex. So I would always probably say the Datejust is a good start for people. It's a very recognizable watch by most non-watch collectors. Rolex uses the fluted bezel in all their marketing, so everybody kind of recognizes it. If you want the most recognized Rolex like that, you would either see that or the Day-Date. For me, the Datejust is the entry-level Rolex. More options are coming in. John Galt says option 2, which is the 5960. Rohit goes with option 3, same as you, Professor, which is the 5146. Zoso says option 2. He likes the moon phase. Toyota Mo saying hi to Mr. Zoso. I'm trying to keep up here with the chat. Oh, no, super chat. Thanks,
I think
guys.
our fellow, he should sell all 3 watches, all 3 Pateks, and get a proper Patek.
I'm gonna comment on that. So Josh, 2 pounds says, thanks, guys. Option 1 is my fave. I love my blues. So Josh, you got two out of the 3 panelists saying option 1. But there are people that supported the Professor's option, and there's people who picked option 2. So the answer is you can't really go wrong with any of them. Like, you've got a great collection of Pateks. Professor made the comment around consolidating your collection into, and look, this was what I kind of told Archie. So Archie owned the whole joke of 5 identical Pateks or 4 identical Pateks or whatever. I don't even know why he did that. Everyone kind of blames me for getting him into the Patek phase, but I never told him to buy 4 of the same watch for any reason. But Jin, he had the 6006. He had the 5127. I think he had 2 of them at a time. He had the 5305.
He had a 5196. He had a 5296.
5296. Like, these are all very similar watches outside of maybe the annual calendar and world time, but they're Calatravas. And he had a lot of money in it. And I kind of told him, and even right now, he's like, well, I just want to get, if you ask him today, what do you want to get from a Patek? He's like, I'll get a 5196 or a world time. I kind of tell him, I say, look, you've seen the 3 levels of Patek. You've dealt with the entry level, which is just your basic Pateks, 3-hander with a date, or even just a manual wind. You've handled and you've owned the complications, whether that was a world time or an annual calendar, but you've never owned a grand complication. You've never owned a perpetual calendar. And I think of all the grand complications, that's probably the one that I would say Archie should get, perpetual calendar. We can even kind of go down the rabbit hole of perpetual calendars that I think he should get. Size-wise, obviously, may not be the best size, but to me, this is the perpetual calendar to get. Worn by Philippe Stern for many years, 20-year production of the 3940 perpetual calendar. I think from a aesthetic perspective, this fits ArchieLuxury to a T. If you want something a bit more modern, so that's a 36. If you want something a bit more modern to what he was used to, you can get the 37 millimeter 5140, which is the update of the 3940. I think the 5327, which is the blue one. This is the one he does want, the 5327, which is a more modern size blue. I think this is just priced out too far for him to actually purchase. But I think that he needs to kind of go grand complication.
Which perpetual would be good would be the 5159G. It's always been my favorite, but it's a bit quirky. Which is why I like. Yes, the one with retrograde date and officer style lugs, officer style case back. I mean, this is gorgeous. It's not what you would think as a Patek Perpetual, but it is one.
I remember going to the dealer. So one of the days I was meeting up with Jin in Toronto, Professor, I went to the Patek dealer in Toronto, and I was looking at grand complications, and the only perpetual calendar they had was this one, the retrograde. That's why I know this watch. And I remember putting it on and I think I showed Jen a picture, and he was like, "That's the one I like. That's the one." And I just thinking in my mind, I was like, "This is how I know he likes all this quirky stuff."
5160.
This is a 5159 retrograde perpetual calendar.
Yeah.
So the date's a retrograde date. Yeah. It's not the design's not for everybody. You got Roman numerals. You got a bit of you got the retrograde numbers here. You've got the day, the date. Like you got the moon phase. Like you got it's a quirky one for sure. It's not everybody's perpetual calendar. I think if you're ArchieLuxury, you're probably going for a 5140. Keeping with a 37 millimeter. I think he's comfortable with a 37 millimeter. Because look, we have to go with the price point of what's going to work for this guy. I think a 5140 from a price point would probably be around where he's looking. But hey, if you want the legend, you want the icon, you get the 3940, which is the 36 millimeter perpetual calendar. Jin, so GJ had one of these 34 and 3940s. Can you?
Yes. He had a first series. Yeah.
A first series. So the first series, I'll kind of show a first gen here. There was one up for sale actually. First gen, call it first gen, first series. This is a first series.
He might have actually had more than one. He might have, but yeah, he definitely had a first series.
And the first series is it the sub registers that
yes,
you can identify the first series? Yeah, that's what I remember. Is the sub registers are different on the first series.
You get this with an Italian dial, and that is perfect. And,
what metal? What metal?
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, what metal would you get?
I mean, white gold kind of prefer, but there were more in yellow gold, and I think it looks good in yellow gold.
Professor, do you like white gold, yellow gold here for this one?
I'm okay. This whole Patek discussion is it's a nice discussion, but for those who are not from the opulent class, Patek should not be even a thought.
Sandro
unfortunately, this is not how capitalism functions. But Patek is not for the ordinary.
It's for the extraordinary.
Well, it's for people who have a lot of money,
You can
not
still
for
get
people
a
who borrow.
3940 for like less.
Yeah.
40
But
grand.
you're compromising, guys. You're going all for the 20,000, 30,000. Patek, you need to go above 200, 250 to get the real ones. The rest is gimmicky. because value for money doesn't exist for Patek. I mean, you're buying a lot of froth and the name. If you want to replicate that, then you need to go Lange. But Patek is only for a certain group of people. The rest is just, yes, I'm part of the dream of, I bought a Patek. Yeah. Go and repair it and fix it, and then you look at your bank account. Just
well, look,
being a
Archie
little
Luxury,
bit
I think Archie
realistic.
Luxury's tried to fix it with an independent watchmaker, and that didn't really pan out.
Well,
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't
Tan,
happen.
you remember the story? There was a guy in Canada who had an old Patek pocket watch from like probably like 100 years old or almost 100 years old, and
Mhm.
it was passed down through the family, and he got it, and he needed to get it serviced because it wasn't working anymore. He went to
Mhm.
Patek, and they guarantee, we will repair anything you give to us. And yes, they will. But the quote that they gave him for this old pocket watch was over 10 grand, because they would have to go in and they would have to actually make a new
Parts, yeah.
mainspring, and they can't just make one, they have to make a batch of them, and they don't have
Mhm.
any in stock. So yes, if you ask them to do it, they'll do it, but don't expect the price tag to be to not put you in tears.
All right, guys, let's move on. We got super chats here, but Sandro H says the 5230 is beautiful. It's a perpetual calendar, similar register to the 5396 annual calendar, but with syringe hands. I pulled up a Salomon dial for our friend Professor, who likes to call it the Salomon dial.
Salomon dial.
Salomon dial. Swinging Kangaroo $2 asks, which one do you have to submit an application for? I think it was the Grandmaster Chime at one point. I think it's kind of it's a watch that's on their website now. I think I'm not sure if you still have to do it for the Grandmaster Chime, but I believe when it first came out, you did have to do the Grandmaster Chime.
And actually, the Pilot Calatrava USA edition, you had to submit an application as well.
And I believe that one's on David SW's site. I'll pull it up here real quick because David SW is a sponsor of the channel, and I believe he is selling one. He may have already sold it. It's a 5522, I believe.
Yeah.
New York edition. Let me see if I can just pull it up. He did sell it, so if you were looking to buy it, New York edition, I believe it was called. This is the one in steel. So this was probably his photo on Chrono. This also probably was one you'd have to apply for, as Jin said. So very special pieces. Some of them you definitely have to apply for. A Swinging Kangaroo, just like in the car industry. If you want, the Ford GT, you have to apply with Ford. If you want to get, a Ferrari LaFerrari, you have to be a big, well-known client by Ferrari. It's just, this is the game, like Professor said. If you want the really special stuff, you got to spend, an arm and a leg. Barry, 5 pounds. I've the 116610 Mariner, 116600. I think it's a Sea Dweller. White dial, white dial, white gold numeral markers. Oh, sorry, this is what he's talking about. Date just white dial, white gold numeral markers. I love my date just, the watch, saving for a Patek. So he's got a Submariner and he's got a date just. I love white gold with white. It's fluted. Numeral markers. I'll pull that up. 116600. Rolex 116600.
That's a Sea Dweller.
116600. Yeah. Unless he's saying he's got a date just with white gold.
On top of
I initially thought it was a Sea Dweller. So this is a Submariner. This is a Sea Dweller. And then maybe he's got a date just with white gold and Roman numerals. So if that's your 3-piece, I love my date just with the watch, saving for a Patek. Man. You can consolidate, like some people say. Some people say don't sell to consolidate. I honestly don't care in that sense. Like sometimes I'm consolidated Rolexes to buy Pateks. Sometimes I've sold Pateks to buy Rolexes. To me, it's kind of whatever floats your boat at that time of day or that month of the year that you really like. So get what you like, but definitely cool collection.
White Roman dial is great. It's so underrated, but it's such a classy dial.
Yeah, so he is saying he's got a sub Sea Dweller and date just. Yeah, so I was confused. I was like, pretty sure the 116600 is a Sea Dweller. But then you said the date just piece, so very cool. Josh says, Chris just asked the panel thoughts on my Patek collection. Professor advised to get rid of them all and get a real watch. Ouch, Professor, you're being savage. We need General Saad for the savageness. I'm dropping the link for the general to come on. Let's talk some date just. Let's talk some day dates.
Yes. I think we're very safe going day date, the day date way. You know,
Hey, big guns.
don't take me wrong. Patek is a beautiful brand, but you need to be a multi-millionaire to be playing this game. You know, the Calatrava, nice watch, but you're paying what exactly at what price? You know, a better performer is a nice Submariner for that same watch. But you're paying for a Patek, so if you're willing to pay for the brand, go for it.
Let's indulge the professor. The professor says go Lange. Let's go Lange here.
Well, you know what I would get as a, I've told you, Ken, like I would get a Vacheron Patrimony Traditionnel. I mean, that is a beautiful watch.
Yeah, I could pull up Vacheron as well. Vacheron, Constantin, websites. Let's look at both. Why not? Why not go?
Oh, I love both brands. I mean, they are.
Let's go through it. Why not?
Yeah, the only one Lange has is a gimmicky watch is the Odysseus. That's they came late in the game.
So,
They should
Professor,
sell that
I
to a
was
supermarket.
I was in New
They
York
should-
the day that
Oh.
they released the Odysseus. So I went to the Lange boutique on Madison Ave, and we begged to see the Odysseus, but then there was already some guy from China there who was like buying a bunch of stuff, so they ignored us, which is fair enough.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But that watch is good for me because I'm half blind, so at least they have the date for the blind.
Yeah.
So is this the traditional that you're talking about?
Yeah, this is like if you're looking at a dress watch, I mean Geneva seal, like do you need anything more than this?
This is a beautiful watch. Geneva seal, Geneva case, small seconds. Just it looks stunning in person. I wouldn't disagree. I think people, and these can be had for cheaper than a Calatrava.
I think on the second hand, you could probably get one for about like 18, which is pretty good.
Yeah, for a watch like this, and I think this is a modern size too. It's not a small size.
38
watch.
and a half. Yeah.
38 and a half, yeah. You know, and you're seeing here, this is, I think,
26.
This
They
is- this
woke
is-
up as well.
Yeah.
Vacheron,
This is-
yes. Let's
this is the
steal.
MSRP, yes.
Well, I mean, you think
Yeah.
about the inflation for everything else. I mean, it does kind of make sense that, things are more expensive.
All right, let's go to Lange here. Which lineup do we want to go through here with Lange? Do we want to go through? Let's go to their lineups. We got the Lange 1. We got this like, what's going on here? Lange 1, Zeitwerk, Saxonia. I'm just gonna indulge you guys with this one first, just because it.
This one, they were blind and deaf, and they created this one. They hired a lot of blind people to design this.
Jen, this is a good one here. I think this came up yesterday. I don't know if you're around. Patek Philippe 5170. That's the chronograph, or the Lange and Zuna 1815 chronograph.
Well, I see that his profile pic, Sandro's profile pic, is a 5170. So it's clear where he's made his decision. I think the watch itself as something to wear, the 5170 is probably better. And aesthetically, I think that they've done a better job. But the 1815 chronograph is almost something that you want to wear upside down because the movement, the depth of the movement, you can't even comprehend the depth and the visual appeal of that movement until you turn it upside down, like in person, because it's ridiculous.
Professor, are you familiar with the 1815 chrono, or do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar. Between the two. Oh, okay.
Did we stump the professor? That's the question. Some deep thought.
Yeah. Look, I think that in this category, Lange is better.
So Sandro came up with a follow-up comment that he agrees with that the 1815 backside is better. So I guess it depends on if you're a backside kind of man or not.
Saad, you're here. We've been begging for your presence.
Well, the finishing is better,
Yeah.
finishing.
Hello,
Yeah.
Professor. Hello, Tan.
Hi,
Hello,
hi.
the legend Jin. How are you guys?
Hey, so
Good. Saad, what are your thoughts? 5170 or the Lange? You were talking about Lange in the chat.
Yeah, I think, if getting a dress watch, then why not go for the best one, which is Patek Philippe? At least, if not, the finishing is better than this, but the name Patek Philippe is too strong. So, whenever somebody asks you, what watch are you wearing? When you tell them that I'm wearing a Patek Philippe, the eyebrows, they go up in the sky.
Yeah, for me, look, you guys all know I like Patek Philippe. I like the 5170G black dial, Breguet numerals. I would be going with a Patek, but this is a heavy hitter, 1815 chronograph, flyback chronograph. Like this is not a bad watch. This is an excellent one. I think they're just two really. This is the boutique edition. JJ was talking about this yesterday in the blue script. Just beautiful piece. Beautiful backside, like you can see. Hand engraving, top level finishing on this watch.
And if you haven't seen like the movement of this watch, like in person, the three-dimensional depth of this is something that you can't comprehend just by looking at pictures. Like it's another level.
Then I would like to ask you and Jin one question that I have noticed that you guys are too much into dress watches. Is your lifestyle like that, or anything particular about dress watches that you guys love?
No, I mean, I went through my collection, right? I'll read you my collection again. I have a Datejust 2, blue Roman numerals, through the bezel. I have a Hulk, Cermet, Pepsi, Speedmaster 3861, AP Royal Oak 15500. I have my Patek 5196. So I'm not very heavy in dress watches. I have a Tudor Black Bay 58. Most of my watches are actually sport watches. I do know a lot about Patek dress watches because I've owned a lot of these, and I've owned obviously the Patek Sports. I've owned the Nautilus, and I've owned many Royal Oaks. So not just me. I just for me it's interesting because I like to talk about something that's not the same. Right? I can talk about Pepsis all day long. I have a very vast knowledge of vintage Rolex and everything else. For me, it's just, Negroni says Hulk and Cermet. Yeah, I bought the Hulk pre-boom and I bought the Cermet post-boom. So, yeah. Jin, what about you? I don't think you're watch heavy either because you have a lot of sport watches.
No, yeah, certainly not as far as what I own. As far as lifestyle, maybe my lifestyle, I aspire to be more dress watchy in a way, in a sense. Although, I am definitely more of maybe live more of a sport watch lifestyle.
Christopher Negroni says the 1815 is a grail for me, this boutique edition. Absolutely. This could be a grail for everybody. Beautiful watch. But yeah, Saad, I think it's just for us is a lot of these manufacturers, the high horology manufacturers, the majority of the watches they make are dress watches. So we like these watches. We know about these watches. We've owned these watches, or we explore these watches. But yeah, now that you're here, I do want to bring up a watch, Saad. I gotta find it because I got 50 ArchieLuxury fucking live chat, the WhatsApp chats that I'm in, and I need to find the one that you sent me the other day. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, Professor. I've been waiting to show this watch for quite some time. The General is here.
Go.
Let's go, General. Talk to me about this one.
So back in the day when there was no masterpiece models from Rolex, the masterpiece, the most decorated versions, they used to have these, and these were mostly the 4-digit reference number, or very, very rarely they also did in 5-digit. But and this was called Rolex Octopussy. Now, Octopussy was why they called them that. It was because of the bracelet. You see, round cut brilliants, and then there is a ruby, or they used to have sapphires and different gemstones, even baguettes in the center links, on the center links. The other specialty about this watch was, which you could never see in other watch, was, the pave dial that they had. it had no Rolex nameplate on it. So they had to put Rolex somewhere. So what they did was they etched the Rolex emblem on this glass instead of having a nameplate on the dial. And the third thing that was very rare was the this color that you see. It was matched to the ruby, red color. So this was, I believe, one of the rarest and most expensive day dates, and still is.
Yeah, and the vintage day dates, like the special ones, like the Octopussies, the Stellas, and others,
Yeah.
or the Middle Eastern royalty dials. I mean, they were one of the first collectible Rolexes, and they remain one of the most collectible.
Yeah, but when I was studying these watches, I think back in 2006, starting from 2006-7, in those days, no one was into these octopuses, and you would see the previous auctions, which they didn't, got too many, prices. Especially the steel Daytonas or other stuff were more expensive than these jeweled items. But now, because of awareness and especially the Stella dies, after the Oyster Perpetual, people now understand what specialty these Stella dial have. 7-6 layers of or less maybe, but it's very lacquerish. You see too many lacquer coatings on the dial. So and but I do believe that that was the first collectible Rolex. I agree on that. The Stella dials, especially the day date in yellow Stella. That was ultra rare. I would say the yellow is the rarest one.
Yeah,
Just to give you some context, Saad. Jin is a supporter of your cricket team. He's a huge supporter of the Pakistani cricket team. So just gonna lay that out. So I guess Professor's given some support.
Inshallah, Pakistan zaro jeetega.
There you go.
Thank you, bro.
The Korean-speaking Urdu for you there, Saad. There you go. We've got Toyota Mode, $10. I can listen to the General and Tan talk Rolex all day long. Thank you, boys, Toyota. We also have the Professor and Jin in the house. We're talking rare day dates. Stella dial up on the screen, Saad and Professor. Yellow gold, you were saying, Saad. Let's go through it.
Yeah, so this is, I believe, 18038, but it looks like 18238, but it is 18038. Of course, it is, because 18238 didn't have Stella dials. And you see the red one here. But the rarest of the rare was the yellow Stella, which you would see, very few photographs of that. So the red ones were not the ultra rare. The yellow one actually was, if you can find it somewhere.
There's a lot of Stellas I can find, here.
Yeah.
You got green, you got.
And the problem with Stella was, because it was lacquered color and then lacquered, so you would see different shades of yellow, different shades of purple, different shades of blue. No two Stella dials were the same.
So I think this is a yellow Stella dial and a purple Stella dial here.
Yes, the yellow is the rarest. Yeah. Do you remember the vignette dials, VIGNITTE? The one with somewhat gradient kind of, this one, yeah.
Jin, have you ever seen this before, the vignette dial? It kind of looks like a...
Yeah. No, they're beautiful. I mean, it's this is the thing about day dates, is that you used to be able to get so many different dial, the tapestry dial, the vignette dial, the wood dial, the lapis lazuli dial, the Stella dial. I mean, there were so many, but now it's kind of boring. Just get the same sunburst champagne, like green or white.
Got JJ in the house. JJ wants to join the day date.
Hello, JJ, bro. How are you?
Good day, fellas. Good day. Hello, Saad. Hello, Tan, Professor. Who's down at the bottom? Jin, is that you? Everything's covered up over here. We still have Christmas decorations up, I see.
Christmas deck. I don't know. I just picked up whatever background is here. We were just talking about the Stella dial. We showed a yellow Stella here up on the screen. Let's see if I can find. Oh, here we go. Yellow and purple Stella. He says the yellow is the rarest of them all.
Not the pink?
So the yellow's rarer than the pink, Stella?
I think the pink, no, the yellow was yellow is the most expensive also.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would defer
But
to
again,
Saad.
all of them are expensive. JJ, all of them are very, very expensive. They are the most expensive dials that Rolex make. They have just color on them, and Then I have sent a photograph of Octopussy in Oysterquartz. If you, yeah. Okay, you have already shown us now. Yeah.
Saad knows the yellow is the most rare because he has 3 of each color, but only 2 of the yellow.
All right, Saad.
How much do they go for, Saad? How much are they worth?
I'm not sure now, but hundreds of thousands of dollars, But again, Professor, it's just the color of the dial and it becomes so expensive. This is the unique thing about they don't have to do too much, trying on making these expensive. So this was the almost same kind of a watch that you showed previously, but this was Oysterquartz date, which was never so famous. The oyster movements were never famous.
So they did an Octopussy and Oysterquartz, really?
Yeah, this is the one.
Wow. Now, is this something that you've come across at all, like when you were trying to collect these pieces? Have you seen one of these in real life at all ever?
Some of them I have seen, like I have seen Octopussy in platinum, which I posted on Rolex forums, and everybody was telling me it's a fake watch till Crown Collection came and he said, no, this is a real thing. At that time, they thought that, there was no, again, back in 2014-13, there was absolutely no information about day dates. I don't know about other models, but zero information on day dates. So it was a developing thing.
1105 is driving and listening to a great stream. You guys are awesome. Yeah, you can listen to this in podcast format if you're driving. If you're watching, we're showing some great photos of rare Rolexes, rare day dates. We got Saad in the house. We got JJ, Professor, Jin, a big panel here of people who know a lot about watches.
Saad, I have a question.
Sure,
Saad,
Professor.
I have a question. Mr. Zozo is mentioning something. Can these dials be faked?
Yeah,
Are these
why not?
fake dials?
Yeah, by fake, you can. What happens is they have reprinted. Many of the dials you see they are refinished, reprinted. So that can be done. That's not something, but it can be detected. You can detect it easily. Whether if it's a repainted dial, you can see the text, the color, the how the tritium is placed, the diamonds, everything. It's not that hard to. If a person knows about these things, they can easily tell you.
Yeah, I think that he was referring to the faking in the Stella dial section, just because of the the value of these pieces now that fakes are coming out. And Archie used to talk about this in the 1680 red Submariner back in the day, because at a time I was looking to buy one, and I did actually buy one later on, but I used to watch Archie's videos, and Archie is like, stay away from the 1680 red Submariner because the red print is faked a lot, because the values have skyrocketed. Barry says $2. You missed my last super chat, Tan. Very sorry, Barry. Let me go through it. That's some collection, Tan. Thank you so much, Barry. I appreciate it. I walked through my collection. We've got JJ with a great collection on here. Jin, Professor.
I really love JJ's collection. I think it's the most complete collection one can have. And the thing about JJ is that he has a unique taste for different brands. It's not just sticking to one Rolex or one topic. He has brique. He has a day date, which some people will tell him that it's not a good watch or it's too flashy, but he loves it. I have been listening to JJ since he started his channel, and he talks about his day date sometimes, and he loves it. And other watches, he had Patek Philippe, very nice watches.
What day date do you have, JJ? I'll pull it up.
I have the day date 40 silver dial with the Romans.
Dial Roman. Let's pull it up. Day date 40.
It's a 228238. Yeah.
Right.
238. Yeah, here we go. Yellow gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh. It's a landlord watch right here, JJ. Is this it?
Yeah, that's the one.
So JJ, talk to us about why you chose this watch. Romans, you got a
Well,
silver dial.
Oh, it's funny. I was kind of tossed up between this. This was before, like, when you could actually get watches. I was actually negotiating, discounts and getting a back row with it, which I did get eventually. The real thing, I'm trying to like remember exactly, but my friend had the champagne dial, so I was kind of, I wanted to do something classic, but I'm with him a lot. Like, I didn't want to look like twins, you know what I mean? The same watch. And he had a couple of years, like 2 years before me. I think he got it when when they switched over from the larger one, the Day-Date, what was it, 41, the Day-Date 2, I guess, or whatever. Did they call it a Day-Date 2, or is it just Day-Date?
Yeah, they was calling the Day-Date 2 and the Datejust 2.
Right. Then. Yeah. It was like right after they switched to the 40. So he had that one first. So I was tossed up between this and the rose gold with the green. And I wound up going with this because I wanted to go with the yellow. It was more traditional, I felt, for the Day-Date. And I felt like if I was to get a dress watch on a leather strap, I would go rose, which I did. So it would break it up and give it, I like different metals, a little variety. I don't know if you've ever seen, I could send you a picture. I had the 3 different metals at one point. It was before I sold the 5172, but I had the yellow gold, rose gold, and white gold. So basically, once I decided I wanted the yellow gold, I don't know, the silver dial just does it for me. I like the silver sunburst. It's a little more modern than the champagne, I feel like. White's clean, but I thought it was a little boring. I don't know, the silver.
That was my question, right? The silver, and your professor's giving you the this is a beautiful dial. My question was going to be on the dial specifically because silver, because I own a silver on the 15500 AP, really glistens in the light, and obviously has a different tone in the dark or in the low light. Can you describe kind of this dial, like how it hits with the light? Like, is it really sparkle? Like, it doesn't seem flat. So when I'm looking at this picture, which has a bit more light, it shows that there's a bit more gradients to the dial.
Yeah, well, I always love like the brushed look, which it kind of has, on the sunburst dial. In the sun, it does. Yeah, it definitely reflects the light, and it is shiny. But what I do like about it is in low light, it kind of reflects whatever color. Like, let's say in my car, right, it has like those blue like LEDs in it.
Yep.
Like the mood lighting or whatever color lighting,
of course.
And it'll pick up anything. So like if it's blue, like the dial will look kind of bluish. If it's red, if I put in sport mode, it goes to red automatically. It'll pick up like the reds. So it's like, if you wear it in the evening, like if you're out somewhere, depending on where you are and like, out for dinner or at a bar, it'll always look a little different. It'll pick up some of the light.
Professor Saad, when we're talking about this reference of Day-Date, obviously Saad has talked about the difference between the Day-Date 2 and the Day-Date 41, Day-Date 40, because the Day-Date 2 Saad was a 41, I believe. Maybe it was a 40.
Yeah, it was a 41. Yeah.
Because the Datejust 2 was a 41. I know that because I have it.
Also, even the Day-Date 2 was 41.
Both were 41.
And they changed. They were trying to copy. They were trying to copy the prosciutto watch.
I sent 2 pics in the group, Tan, just so you can see.
All right. I'll pull up the super chat real quick. From Barry, £2. Thank you again, Barry. Has been super chatting all day today. Appreciate the kind words and the super chat. What size? 36 or 40 millimeter? I would get the 36 personally. I'm going to open this up to the panel while I check these photos. If you guys don't want to mind answering it for him, that would help.
36, man. That's the classic. If presidents and gentlemen and captains of industry, if 36 was good enough for them 50 years ago, it's good enough for you now.
But unfortunately, people are getting fatter.
Well, that is the problems. I agree, Professor.
And as they're getting fatter, they're dying quicker, and everything is adjusting. So I think a lot of people will opt for the 40 just because they're getting heavier and heavier. And everything is becoming bigger and bigger, right? I mean, America is the best at that. I mean, if you look at portions, they are for elephants, not for humans.
Look, from my take, I also like the classic 36 specifically. Again, it depends obviously on your wrist size. If you got a tree trunk for a wrist, you may not want a 36. If you got a normal wrist, 36 will just look just fine. I think the classic 30. You guys see GMT wearing that 36 all day long. Looks exceptional on his wrist. I'm going to go Barry on my side with the 36 millimeter date. I prefer that to the 40. We got a lot of folks here. Swinging Kangaroo, the small wrist club saying 36. Jimmy says 36. If I had a 36 millimeter, I am a bit fatter. I have to go with a 40. All right, so we've got a photo up here from JJ. We've got yellow gold, rose gold, white gold. JJ, talk to us about these phenomenal pieces.
Well, one of them is no longer with us, unfortunately, but I had to do the right move financially. I just saw what was happening, and I got out of it, minus maybe like $2,000, but that wasn't bad to get to own it for a while. Basically, I had the date first, then I had the Breguet, and I wanted a white gold to match. I had the Platinum 5960, which I traded for the 5172. But then the prices, like, the beginning of the year started to tumble, and I just felt like that piece had too much to lose from my, to be comfortable with. So I wound up selling it. I got a good offer, and I sold it. I lost, like I said, a couple thousand, but I still got to enjoy it for a while. Now I could buy it back for like over 10,000 less than I sold it for. So
yeah, this collection, I was gonna say, JJ Jin, this collection looks right up your alley. Date, Breguet, Bregster, and a Patek Philippe. Jen, what are your thoughts on the collection here? The three shades of gold that we got.
No, I think this is perfect. The only thing I will say about the Patek is that I do like syringe hands in principle. I think the in this particular watch, I might prefer something else, just because the hours hand is a little bit stubby, and I think syringe hands kind of look a bit phallic to begin with, and in this combination, I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it's a gorgeous collection. Jokes aside.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. When I was doing it, I wanted a white gold piece in a sportier, with a sportier feel. So I felt like going white gold chronograph was the right move. I also wanted a Patek, and when I think Patek, like, I'm not into I'm into them, but I'm not into the price range of like perpetuals. But to me, a manual line chronograph is like Patek Philippe, So
yeah, and this is like modern look, which is great. I mean, this
right. You got the step. Yeah. There's a step dial. You get the step case on the lugs. I like the syringe hands. You got the Arabic numerals. It's a little more sporty than the 5170. Kind of just like, I feel like a more casual, sporty version. I just thought the white gold with the blue dial one. Well, I know it wasn't like the typical blue dials coming out. It was more muted, like a little textured. It had nice lume. I like the watch. Like I said, it was more of just circumstance of what was happening right now. But long term, I could always come back and go and turn back to that. As far as the Breguet, that I just went to look at on a whim, and once I had it in my hand, because I kept seeing like video of it. Yes, I do still have that strap. Shiggity, I do.
I was just gonna pop off this tab because I gotta pull up one for our boy Toyota Mo. And I don't want to dox anybody on WhatsApp, because everyone's either sending me this on WhatsApp or on IG, so I got to make sure I'm very careful. All right, so our boy Toyota Mo is asking the panel for thoughts. General Saad, we got the date specialist here. He wants your thoughts on this particular date, if you don't mind, for our friend medium legend Toyota Mo.
So this is the black diagonal motif dial. They did it in other color also. I think this is one of the best watches you can find on dates. Same reference that JJ has, 228238.
Right.
It's a great watch. Yeah.
It's like a matte black motif too. Like, he did catch it in some light here, but if you catch it in like an overcast, it looks muted. It's a super casual dial. I really like it a lot.
Look, for me, if it wasn't a textured dial, I probably wouldn't be a big fan of it because just black on a day date, I don't even like the onyx styles, to be honest with you. But I think the texture of this, I think the texture of this obviously gives us, a bit more depth into the watch, something that makes it a lot cooler. So I'd give this a thumbs up on my side, Toyota Mo. I think I'm going to see if Jin is going to be vicious here and see if he doesn't like it. I'm not sure what his response is going to be here, Jin. If you're still around, what do you think? This textured black dial day date.
No, I mean, this is gorgeous. I mean, I agree with you. If it was just a solid black dial, I wouldn't maybe love it so much, but this is perfect.
I agree with both of you guys. I really dislike the solid black dial. I just don't like the look of it personally, but this I've seen with the matte in the back, but the motif pattern is like I guess glossy, you would say, or somewhat glossy, and it just gives it just a super cool look. I love the motif dial anyway in general.
The only problem with black dials is that you see a lot of fingerprints on the glass very clearly. Even on this photograph, you will see on the 7 mark, you see a fingerprint on the glass. So I have had black dials, and those were the problems, I would always see on these day dates. I don't know whether they have some finger, some coating or on the newer models, but this issue you see with the darker dials.
You guys want to pivot back to the Odysseus real quick? Jin, you were telling your story. I don't know if you mind just restarting the story. You were in New York when this watch was released. I think some of the folks weren't around. So if you don't mind restarting that story so we can kind of go into the Odysseus and what everyone thinks about this watch.
Yeah, I mean, they had the Odysseus, the announcement and the actual release were just kind of like that. It was just very last minute. And so I actually flew to New York, not only to see the Odysseus, but I happened to, let's say I changed my travel plan so that I would be there on the day. And I met up with Fella. So we took a walk from over up on Madison Street. We went inside, and we didn't really have high expectations because we didn't know what to expect. But unfortunately, we didn't really, I think we might have got to see it a little bit, but then some Chinese guy was there and he was just like buying everything. So it's not like they're going to give a shit about what we're doing. And I don't think they would sell it to us either. Like, yes, it was technically released, but you couldn't just walk in and buy one. So
you need to have a long history.
Yeah.
To get it. So yeah. They want to follow all the other.
Yeah.
You need to have a journey with us.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
Jin, are you thankful to them for not selling these to you?
Well, I wouldn't have bought it anyway. But I mean, first of all, they weren't cheap, and I just don't like the way they look. I mean, I love Lange as a brand. I am not opposed to them making a steel sports watch, but it just feels like, I feel that there are brands that do like the dressy looking sport watch well. Like I think Breguet with the Marine does a great job. This I don't think is a very good execution. I mean, the design, this is, yeah.
It looks like a Raymond wheel.
Yeah,
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, the bracelet has a lot of resemblance with the IWC bracelets.
Yeah.
They haven't refined it for a brand that sells. How much is this watch? 30?
No, it's
30,000 USD.
It's more than 50, I think, isn't it?
No. Retail, no. Retail is around 30. It should be 30 something. 30.
JJ would know. JJ probably has looked at this watch and thought of consolidating his collection for this watch, right, JJ? JJ's gone.
Hey, sorry, man. I'm here. I was just doing something.
You probably looked at this watch retail or somewhere.
No, I never did. Honestly, I don't even know what this goes for. I would imagine it's close to 40 retail. I don't know for sure.
Okay, I looked it up now. It says for the basic model, it's 29. That was last
29.
Year. It's about 30. Yeah.
Right. I think this is horrible. This was a cash grab. It was so forced. I don't like it. I'm just not into it.
Well, JJ,
they can keep this one too, Tanzir.
That's what I'm gonna say, JJ. Cash grab. stop sharing. I'm supposed to keep sharing. Oh, all right. Where was I? That one's a cash grab.
Technical difficulty.
This one's a cash grab right here. So that's a cash grab. We're gonna call this one a cash grab right here. Cash grab right there as well. And I think where were we on the Watch Pro one that I was looking at here? This one I asked the professor if he would buy this, and this is also a cash grab.
They can keep that too.
I like that Laurent Ferrier. You don't like that one?
What do you like about this, JJ? Like, what appeals to you outside the Salomon dial here? The Salomon dial, as Professor would say.
I really don't like some salmon dials with the rose gold. To be honest, I don't even really like that. I would get a different color dial. I don't know. I just kind of like them. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Laurent Ferrier, but I kind of like that watch.
All right, we're gonna put. You know what, McLovin, who says these watches do less than nothing for him, has brought up a good one here. The Chapek Antarctic. Boys, what do you guys think? And by the way, Higgins says, go Lange or go home, guys.
We are already home, Higgins.
Yeah. We've been home, Higgins. If you want to join us and debate why the Odysseus is the ideal watch for the modern man, Higgins, you can definitely log on. I'll drop the link. Chapek Antarctic, JJ, I think you know about this watch. So
yeah, I think it's a beautiful watch. I know McLovin has one on order. I don't know if you got it yet. I don't think so, but I like this watch a lot. You know, what is this? What do they say? The forgotten partner of Patek Philippe, right?
Well, they don't specifically as a brand. They're pretty honest about the fact that they have no
affiliation. There's no Chapek Patek.
No. There's no affiliation to the original co-founder of Patek Philippe at all. Which is fine. Look, I'm happy when people or brands are at least honest. It seems a bit dishonest that you're just using someone's name and rather than just going about your own, like a Laurent Ferrier or an FP Journe that went about their own name. But okay, so Higgins is triggered in the chat. We love it when Higgins is triggered. Guys, criticizing the Odysseus is okay, but going after LF Sports, Laurent Ferrier Sports, and Chapek Antarctic does not give you credit. No one's going after Laurent Ferrier Sports or Chapek Antarctic.
We're talking both.
Yeah, we're talking about whether Tanzil will now RNT about Chapek being a Phoenix brand and being dishonest about their heritage. No, I didn't say that they were. I was saying that they themselves have talked about the fact that they haven't. They have no lineage to the original co-founder of Patek Philippe. So that is the answer. But
and what about that Maurice Grossman that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page?
So Maurice Grossman, actually, they go through their history on their website. It's pretty lengthy, where it goes all the way to the original watchmaker, then to the watchmaking school, and then to the modern piece. I think Higgins will get even more triggered if we go into Maurice Grossman. But Higgins, we're talking about whether in the Laurent Ferrier, is it the brands that are coming out with these sport watches, are they being original in in their design, right? Is this original? Do they have to do an integrated bracelet? Let's see if this is actually him. Yep, it's him. Mr. Higgins, good day.
Hey, now you got me.
It's the only way we can bring you on.
Higgins is here to promote Zin, Damasco, Lange, and Glacier.
Okay, we like Higgins on this.
No, I like Higgins. Higgins is great. I just like
Higgins, we were
to get him wound up.
Yeah, we were talking about just kind of comparing a lot of these brands that are trying to bring out their modern sport watch, whether it was the Odysseus, the Laurent Ferrier sport watch, the Moser Streamliner, a lot of these pieces that just may not be that aesthetically pleasing to most people from a case design, from a design of the bracelet. Like, what do you like about this Laurent Ferrier? Not accounting for the fact that their high horology, their finishing, but like this watch itself, like, does this visually appeal to you?
What is it?
This is a Laurent Ferrier sport watch that we were talking about.
Yeah. But you said the Laurent Ferrier is, and then you, I didn't get the word.
Oh, sorry. So what I said was the Laurent Ferrier, just like we're describing all the other sport watches, whether it was the Antarctic, the Streamliner, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these brands are coming out with a sport watch and the designs are arguably either very similar to each other. A lot of them are going with integrated bracelets. They may be seeing the boom in terms of the drive of the Nautilus and the Royal Oak, and maybe trying to jump on the train. So I'm asking you, like, does this watch visually appeal to you? That this Laurent Ferrier sport watch?
It does, but here you are looking on the Tourbillon, which is bloody expensive. So I think that is not a fair comparison. I totally adore how this watch looks,
Like
but the
Sport
Tourbillon
Auto,
makes
maybe?
it. Say it again.
No, I was saying like you would look more towards like the Sport Auto, something like that.
The Sport Auto, I was talking with the dark blue dial,
I'll pull it up here.
which is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. It goes along the other Laurent Ferrier watches, and it's much nicer executed in my opinion than the Odysseus.
Yeah, I feel like they rushed out the Odysseus to keep up.
I disagree with you, JJ. I think they thought about it too long.
Okay.
I think they went from committee to committee and from one design finding group to another one. I think this is overthought, or probably too many people involved, making everybody kind of happy, but nobody really excited.
And then we're going to go here to the Streamliner. Jonathan, what do you think of the Streamliner?
I totally love the Chronos Streamliner. I had it on the wrist at the in last summer. It is a beautiful, gorgeous, amazing watch. If I could get one, I would buy one. But the blue dial at the moment is discontinued.
Got a super chat here from Chris from New Zealand, 349 New Zealand dollars. Best watch for Mo to get if the Niners win the Super Bowl. JJ, best watch for Toyota Mo to get if they win the Super Bowl.
Well, if you know anything about Toyota Mo, you were gonna go Royal Oak.
Royal Oak, Toyota Mo, Royal Oak. Which one? 15, 510, 500, 550. Which one?
Trying to think. If I was, well, I guess like 15,500 probably seems like most speed. Maybe 15,510. I can even see him with a 15,400. Any of those three, but I think he'd go 15,500.
15,500. Mo's gonna save $1,000 off the secondary market. Go with the 15,500. JJ, what are your thoughts? So Higgins loves these designs. He's angry in the chat on this.
I think the Moser is a cool watch. It's a cool watch. It was always way too expensive on the secondary for me to be interested in it, but I think it's an interesting watch. I kind of like the funkiness of Moser. I know a lot of people don't, but
I think the last one, Higgins, we were talking about was the Piaget Polo. Obviously a lot cheaper than these other watches.
Yeah, that is that is a tough one.
And look, we were talking earlier about Piaget. So someone in the chat was, they really wanted us to talk about Piaget because Jin, who's on the panel back in the day, used to stream with me, and apparently he used to defend Piaget's honor, obviously from being a thin movement watchmaker. So we did show Piaget on the stream. I'm going to pull it up here because I think it's worth revisiting because we do have Higgins on the show. So Higgins, now I know how to pull you in. I'll just trigger you by saying Phoenix brand and bring.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Moritz Grossmann, which I would love to battle.
Joking, Higgins. Come on, we're just joking. So this is the Antiplano concept watch. This won the Aiguille d'Or in 2020 GPHG. Higgins, you must be familiar with this piece. Yeah. Very, very slim, 2 millimeters thick for the entire watch. Did you see this watch in person at all?
No, I haven't seen it. And the problem is this is just a halo watch, which doesn't really help the brand, in my opinion, unfortunately. I know Piaget from the times when Yves Piaget was running the company, and the Polo looked totally different. It was a super luxury watch which was higher positioned than day date, and it did sell. And then Rolex started with the King Midas, which targeted the Piaget Polo, in my opinion.
JB says, Jonathan, you disagree a lot. Hey, JB, look, we like the disagreements here with Jonathan.
I think that is part of the discussion. Or do you only want yes man? So
I successfully pulled
Watch
you
this.
on.
We could really mess Jonathan up. I think German watches are the best.
Yeah.
What?
What?
I just want to see if you disagree, just to disagree.
JJ, are you taking the same drugs just like Tim Wright, or what is happening with you?
I love it.
You know, the Polo was the coolest watch of the era in the 70s. And up there with like the 222 was pretty cool too. But, you know, this is the watch that like all the jet set class wore back then. And you can buy one now, or at least you used to be able to buy one for basically melt value. So you can get like the coolest watch of the 70s for nothing.
Yeah, but that's like saying like Cadillac was the most cool car in the 70s in the US.
Well,
like nobody wants to buy one today.
Well, it was cool in America. I don't know about cool.
No, I'm saying in the US, it was like that was it. Everybody wanted a Cadillac.
That's a fair point.
Tan is totally correct about Piaget, but you mentioned something else where I disagree with you again. What else did you mention?
So we were talking about the Chapek. I didn't say anything about the Chapek actually. I just talked about Chapek's lineage, where they're very honest around the fact that they have no lineage to the original co-founder. You know, they're clear about that. What I said also was, I don't like the fact that certain brands use names like that, because it can seem a little dishonest. Whereas other brands like a Laurent Ferrier or an FP Journe, you know, they're going on their own name, and really they're going on their own laurels, which I think is a lot more respectable. I think that was, I don't know if you disagree with that.
But you're comparing apples to oranges, in my opinion, Tan, because the owner of Moritz Grossmann, she's a watchmaker, but she's not producing her own watches. So if she called the company Christine Hutter, it wouldn't make sense because she's not doing them. Laurent Ferrier is part of building the watches.
You probably say the same thing about Richard Mille, right? Like Richard Mille is not a watchmaker, right?
That's true. Yes.
And it's kind of the same story, right? He wasn't a watchmaker, but he named it after himself. I guess that I don't see it as apples and oranges, because I'm not comparing the type of brand even. But the fact that they're all watchmakers, they're all in the business of selling watches for a profit. And I just think it's more respectable for somebody to use their name and get the credit for that. Whereas, and look, most people, non-watch collectors, Jonathan, some of them may not even know who Chapek was and may just see this.
So, Tan, by that logic, Patek Philippe would be named the Stern Company.
The Stern Company, yeah, because they are the current owners of it, and they could have changed the name of it. You know, and that's I guess the only one.
They bought a hollow brand. They bought a hollow brand which was almost bankrupt.
Yeah, but that's like everybody right now. Like everybody was bankrupt. It's like literally everybody.
Where's the difference now between buying a watch brand which is almost dead and a watch brand that is dead?
Yeah, I think you got watch brand, and we were talking about this earlier, Jonathan, around the JLC Reverso, because you may have missed that, but I even went so far as to call it a Phoenix watch, not a Phoenix brand, but a Phoenix watch. Yeah. Because the Reverso, popular in the early 20th century, and then you don't find any Reversos in production, like 70s Reversos. They're not around because they probably ended production, and they came back. They phoenixed in the 90s, you know, and we showed a couple of the really bad ones like the Squadras and stuff. But look, they
phoenixed twice, by the way, with a Reverso.
The Phoenix twice. So we can I'll take that the Reverso, which is a very loved watch by me, as a Phoenix watch. You know, but you know, on the topic of the Antarctic. So we were talking about the Polo you don't like. You do like the Streamliner, or JJ likes the Streamliner. You like the Streamliner as well, you said. You do like the Laurent Ferrier. This Chapek Antarctic, what are your thoughts? It's very close to the Laureato. People are saying, do you like this watch? Do you not like this watch? You know, purely on aesthetics.
I think aesthetically it's great. I don't see the parallel to the Laureato, because the Laureato has a hexagonal bezel, which is functioning like a wheel nut, while the Antarctic has a plain bezel, and this amazing dial.
And the movement. Can we look at the movement with the finger bridges and stuff?
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Yeah, I just pull up the Laureato here. I'm gonna pull back up.
But just have a look at the structure of the Chapek dial. It's called Stairway to Heaven, and this is three-dimensional and absolutely mind-blowing when you see that in real life. No photo can capture the beauty of this structure.
It's like woven fabric, kind of.
Yes. And it's not not a print.
No, go ahead. Here we go. We got
Mike.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
This is a super modern construction, which is exclusive to Chapek. Keep in mind, they were doing this kind of movement when they were putting out 300 watches per year. So what kind of bold move is that to bring such a beautiful movement, which I apologize in advance, blows AP and Patek out of the water? It's just gorgeous. And bold.
JJ? Oh, gorgeous and bold. That's the Higgins comment. Gorgeous and bold.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I don't know if I go as far as say blows Patek and AP out of the water on some of the higher end movements. I think they're just as beautiful, but I do give them credit for designing something that I'm sure really ate into their bottom line when they were producing such low numbers at the time, and it paid off for them because they've been sold out for like a year now.
Now, Higgins, would you consider this more of an industrial design movement as opposed to a beautifully decorated finished movement that you would probably expect in a Patek? How would you contrast the two movements? And this is a micromotor movement, so let's assume we're comparing it to a Patek 240 movement. I'll pull one up as well, so make it easy.
I agree with you that it has a more modern touch and gets rid of the Côte de Genève and some traditional finishing techniques, but it is something very unique, something very different, similar to Grönefeld, what they're doing. So it is totally different. It is non-traditional, but I think it's a nice touch for such a young brand. And to be honest, so here you have that advanced research variant of the 240 with the. So I personally would take the Chapek movement over the 240 every day of the year.
And why would that be? You just feel because the design is unique. Like, where do you feel that that's more? Go ahead.
It has a more modern feel, while Patek is showing the old values, but not with a lot of passion. So, in my opinion, it's a little bit an old-fashioned movement. The 240 I can live easier with than the 340 or what is the current series with a central rotor. The 240 is still a lovely sight.
Yeah, it's the micro rotor. The old 324. They have a modern version of it. It's something dash something. We'll just use the 324 as what your comparison was. I wasn't comparing the big rotor because I wanted to compare two micro remote rotor movements here.
Yeah. Okay.
Jin, Professor, JJ, thoughts. We're comparing the two. Higgins has come out strong for Chapek in his view of the movement.
So let me say, like to like, if you take Chapek, exactly what it offers with a Patek, Chapek is 10 times better than a Patek.
The professor is sarcastic now.
No,
well, it is better. It is better.
But
people will disagree, but that's because they're influenced by marketing.
So there's no but, Professor. You're 100% in support of the Chapek.
Absolutely. This is a superior watch for the type of mechanism and what it offers.
JJ, these are some strong fighting words here. I might have to bring this up with
So
Archie
I'm
later.
going to have to pass on the rest of this topic. Sorry, I'm kind of in the middle of something else. Sorry, just on the phone here.
AD Never Calling says, I need to check on my Chapek order. I hear they're delivering some. Right.
Good luck.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is
good luck with that.
Is marketing such a bad thing? Like it's
No, but your and our appreciation of a watch is influenced greatly by marketing.
And is that
the group think that goes on?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a fan of groupthink. I think Patek has also done a magnificent job at selling something that the whole "you never own a Patek Philippe." It really convinces people who are maybe upper income earners, but not like truly wealthy, to buy it because it validates the decision.
Exactly.
But I think having commercial appeal and being able to play to people's emotions, I don't think that's such a bad thing. I think it's
no, you're buying. You should be aware. I mean, there is variability between this and others. Chapek, in my opinion, is superior. But Professor, you can also say, but I'm preferring to buy Patek, which is fine. I believe Lange is superior to Patek.
You don't have to believe
Lange
that.
Lange will never be Patek. They will never be Patek. Patek will always command higher premium many, many times.
Yeah. I have a question to the professor because he's emphasizing the strength of marketing. And I mean that seriously. If marketing is such a strong tool,
you're cutting out, Jonathan.
Why is Rolex not? Guys, are you? Do you still hear
cutting
me?
Out, Jonathan. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm repeating my question. If marketing is such a strong tool, why is Rolex not able to sell Cellini watches? Because they are marketing their brand, and if it would be correct that marketing is such a strong tool, why is Rolex struggling selling those Cellinis?
The quick answer is that they're selling everything else so well, right? Everybody wants to be Rolex. Rolex is a unique brand, Jonathan.
Yeah, but if that is true, so everybody wants a Rolex. But why does nobody catch or swallow the bait when there is a Rolex watch with Rolex on the dial and nobody wants it?
So, Professor, I actually brought this up on the live stream yesterday.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make them infallible. It doesn't make them infallible because historically they do make mistakes, right? The transition from the 41 day to the 40 was a mistake. But still, above all, marketing plays a big part in the watch world.
I think that, and I brought this topic up last night. I said the statement that even the Crown, Rolex, they can't save the Cellini. Nobody can. And I think it's more around the market itself being driven heavily into a certain type of watch, like the sport watch. And this is kind of on the topic of what we were talking about, of a lot of these brands trying to capture, a customer that wants a sport watch, where they're traditionally dress watch manufacturers, like maybe a Moser, which has a bit sportier dress watches, I would say. But you've got Laurent Ferrier, known for dress watches, and whatnot, and other brands. And even Rolex themselves, like Jonathan's saying, the name, the hype, they can't save the dress watch. Patek Philippe is a huge dress watch brand, but everybody wants their sport watches. I did I don't know, Jonathan, if you saw the stream yesterday, but I went through just just the forums to see hey, what Patek Philippe's are for sale, and it was just Nautilus, Aquanaut, because someone asked me, hey, should I buy this annual calendar on the secondary? And I said, good luck finding it. because it's an obscure annual calendar. Dealers are not stocking it. So unless you find a collector that bought it, for their own reason, it's going to be very hard, because the demand is so high for sport watches that just, Rolex itself,
But Tom, you know that the Aquanaut, the Aquanaut was a bad seller at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. It was. I talked about that earlier, where I said when I bought my Aquanaut in 2016, everyone was calling it the poor man's Nautilus. They were like, "Oh, why would you buy the Aquanaut?" You don't hear that today, right? You don't hear it being called the poor man's Nautilus. Everybody loves the Aquanaut today.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the Nautilus, it wouldn't have saved the Aquanaut.
So I think, Jonathan, it's more of, guys, I think it's more of it's a bigger problem than Rolex. I think it's a problem in the sense that the style of watch, the modern collector, the modern buyer, even non-watch collectors, may not like that style of watch, what we call the dress watch, a precious metal circular shaped watch on a strap.
I understand your theory, but I think I can give you a counter example. At the moment, everything else sells beside the Cellini, but I remember that is not a long time ago that the classic Air King was just sitting in AD's shelves, didn't sell. So here we have an Oyster. Same goes with the Oyster Perpetual before it moved to 39 millimeters. But even with 39 at the beginning, it was difficult to sell. So I think that the problem is a little bit larger than only the fact that it's not a dress watch.
Yeah, look, it's like what the professor said. They're not infallible, right? Like when I was first buying my first Rolex, it was exactly that. Yeah, the Air King was in 34 millimeters. It's a small watch at a time when, arguably small watches were out of favor. And this is probably like late 2000s, so 2008. Just not a big seller. You have other pieces like the Yachtmaster 1 on the bracelet. Never really a great seller. Don't really understand the market. Don't understand who's buying that watch. They've updated it with the Oyster Flex to make it a little bit more sporty and modern, something that someone may want to buy. Rolex doesn't get it all right. I think that's the answer, is they don't get it all right. But even with their marketing, strength, I don't think and here's the counter argument, Jonathan, that I was hoping you were going to bring up, but I'll bring it up to you, is the topic of a dress watch, the idea of a dress watch, the precious metal or precious metal looking watch on a strap is not modern. It's not something that the modern person would like. Well, I'll challenge that, because let me ask you the question, why was the brand called Daniel Wellington successful, in selling watches to the youth, right? Those they don't look like Chapeks. They don't look like Polos. They don't look like AP Royal Oaks. What do they look like? They look like, basic Piaget Altiplanos is what they look like.
Cellini, yeah.
Yeah, but the kids love it. And you don't see any kids wearing tuxedos and wearing, dressed up.
Look, now after COVID, that suit sales have gone down, have plummeted. Only old people are wearing suits, right? So the idea of the dress watch is of the older age. Younger folk don't see the difference between dress watch and proper watch. And I think everybody has jumped on the bandwagon of the steel watch. And who is commanding the steel watch? Rolex. And everybody else is copying, even Lange.
I mean, even if you go back in history, though, like Rolex has never been able to sell a dress watch. Like the Patrimony, of course, Patrimony is very collectible today, but part of the collectibility is that they didn't make too many because they couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted them. And right. I think maybe that's part of the reason is the segment that they play in is that they've always been a segment that was never a cheap watch, but it was always attainable to kind of the everyman, the striving everyman who wanted to, if they waited and saved, they could buy one as their kind of lifetime achievement award for themselves. Whereas, like, I don't think that group is a group that is going to be looking for a fine, precious metal, very formal, traditional watch that they could wear to like a black tie fundraiser. They just don't have that lifestyle. And the aesthetic, I don't think, really resonates with them.
All right, folks, we are rounding the 3 hours. I actually, unfortunately, have to go, so I will end the stream. It's unfortunate that Jonathan only got pulled in at the end, so I need to use the word Phoenix brand earlier so I can get Jonathan
Phoenix
on.
brand and Moritz Grossman, and you got
Maurice Grossman. You know what, Jonathan? That might be a good topic for us to talk about next time. Is Maurice Grossman? You and I can deep dive into the history of Maurice Grossman, what you feel about the brand today. We'd love to hear it. Obviously, differing perspectives and opinions are valued on the channel. I don't believe in groupthink, as Professor and I talk about a lot. I don't believe in perpetuating groupthink. If somebody feels a certain way, like we see about Phoenix brand, Jonathan, feel free to question that. We want to have differing opinions. We don't want everybody saying, get a Pepsi, get a Cermet, get a Daytona, because you got the Archie Luxury show for that. That's coming up in about 2.5 hours. Before I go, Jonathan, did you run a Swiss and John today? Are you going to be doing anything else this weekend?
No, Swiss is still absent. He's still missing in action. The funny thing is, I sent him pictures of my world timer, and he immediately replied, but nothing more. So Swiss is still missing in action. So I'm not doing a Swiss and John show. It should run at the moment, but no, not tonight. But thanks for asking.
Yeah, Jonathan, look, like when I drop off, maybe if Professor and you want to just chat afterwards. Professor is also a good panelist, loves to chat watches, has a good insight into the industry, as well as, he's a collector that collects all types of watches, not just Rolex.
I know the professor.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that's also a good alternative if you were to want to run a show, because it does seem like the chat wants to hear from you. You've been absent from my show for the last little bit, but I do need to run, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who hopped on. Professor, Jin, Jonathan, JJ. We had Saad on the panel earlier. Everybody in the chat. We have Bear Clooney Watches who says, please upvote. Archie Luxury will be on in 2.5 hours. I'll be with you guys, hopefully a little later. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.